Raider Nation, what's going on? Good morning. Mitchell Renz here from the Raiders Report. We got some breaking news we got to talk about. Tom Brady, he is retired from the NFL, so I figured as much as I have talked about this human being over the past 2 months, it was only right for me to go live here on the show. If you haven't subscribed, if you haven't hit that like button, what the hell are you waiting for? I know that I don't usually go live on Wednesdays, but when big stuff happens, and if the nation wants to have a good time, I'm always down to have a really, really good time. So coming up here, we're going to talk about Brady retiring, and then what the hell's next for the Silver and Black? There were multiple NFL sources out there, Rappaport, Schefter, Fowler, all saying that it's more than likely that Brady is going to end up joining the Raiders. They all were saying that he's going to return for another season. Well, now, what are we going to do? I'm going to go through the most likely quarterbacks that will be under center for the Raiders. So here we go. We got 500 people tuned in. What's your one-word reaction to the Brady retirement? I wore my Buddy Bear jersey because I knew Buddy Bear was going to be ecstatic. He's going to watch this live show. He's going to see the Brady news. He's going to be hyped. Wild 114, the first text message I got this morning, the one that woke me up was Wild One saying, bro, Brady retired, and I just want to see what you guys have to say, man. Remember, if you send in a super chat, we'll put you up on screen. Brad says, good, that bright glad, finally from Raider Trader. Buzzomatic69, good. It's XM, says, good. Bye from Black Lion Supreme. Bring car back from Arizona, Tim. Extreme PC Vids, LOL. We got Mike Savage says goodbye. Let's go to the first super chat here on today's show. What's up, my brother Dinah? Crazy news. Hope all is well, Mitch. I mean, I saw the news go down, and I actually not feeling 100%. So I took some NyQuil last night. Overslept my alarm a little bit, and that's why, Wild One was the one that woke me up with my text message this morning. But for those who don't know, we're down here in Dallas. It is an ice storm. Jeremy couldn't make it in, so shout out to producer Seeps, who's stepping up big today. He literally walked in a little bit sleepy. We got him awake now. He's ready to go, but all is well. The weather is a little bit crazy down here, though. Let's go to the man himself, Wild 114, one of our Mount Raidermore members. Everyone has to face the fact Brady will be our next QB. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Real one for life. I mean, when you think about the percentages, right? Most people would have said that Tom Brady was more than likely going to be the quarterback. And I've also said this. It's not that I wanted Tom Brady. It's Josh McDaniels to me is a lemon. And I've been trying to make lemonade for a long time doing this show. Now that Brady's not your quarterback and not going to be the quarterback, hey, this is a totally different conversation that needs to be had. Let's go to John Borelli. Told y'all we're not getting Brady, Raider Nation for life. I think, honestly, the thing that I'm most upset about is now I'm not going to do a 24-hour straight live show unless y'all still want it to go down, but that probably needs to be a whole nother drunk conversation. I mean, we got to be able to face the facts here. McDaniels, Brady, thought that was going to happen. When you get NFL insiders that reported as much as they were, it's totally okay to believe it's going to happen. And the thought that I did think it was going to happen, and a lot of people did, we started to talk ourselves into it. But it's not like anybody really wanted Tom Brady. It was just we had to face the facts, and if it was going to happen, then, hey, it's going to happen. After a 6-11 season, all I care about is just winning. Let's go to Zachary Rossfeld. Predictable. One of my other friends messaged me like, what if he unretired again? I mean, Brett Favre unretired twice. What if somebody throws Tom Brady like, hey, man, you sure you don't want to retire? I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I do think he's done, though, this time. Let's go to my man, King Higgins. What's up, bro? I knew the Brady thing wasn't going to happen. Better not sign Jimmy G. He was successful because he had everything around him. Raiders have too many holes. I do agree on the idea that Jimmy G, and honestly a lot of those players that were in San Francisco, hell, even Jimmy G back in his time in New England, he is a game manager. And there's nothing wrong with being a game manager, but we just seen what happens with another game manager. Derek Carr is a game-managing quarterback at this point of his career. So why would you get another game manager and put him in the exact same situation? I don't know if there's all that much of a difference. In terms of talent, I still think that Derek Carr is a better talented quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Josh McDaniels thinks that Jimmy Garoppolo can operate his system a lot better. We're going to have to only wait and see, but Jimmy G will be, no doubt, a quarterback that we talk about going forward. Let's go to Patrick B. I'm thinking Jacoby Brissett. Instead, he will battle, probably going to draft a later round quarterback. I'm just going to be real with y'all. I do not want Jacoby Brissett, and I don't even really know if I want Jarrett Stidham. If you have Jacoby Brissett or Jarrett Stidham start for the Raiders next season, I think you're hoping to win 6 games. Now, if I can hop in my time machine, go forward to the 2024 NFL Draft, and we have a top 5 pick, and we can get somebody like a Drake May or Caleb Williams, well, then I'm happy. However, I know how pissed off I get when the Raiders lose, and I have a feeling if those 2 guys would be your quarterback, I'd be miserable the whole season. We'll have to wait and see, though. Let's go to Trevor Lawrence is him, and that was actually a picture that I took of Seeps this morning when I woke him up. Draft the quarterback the NFL scripts writers will love. C.J. Stroud. If you were to ask me who is the quarterback most likely that the Raiders would take, it's Stroud. I've said it a few times that one of my really good sources has told me that Dave Ziegler likes him. The question is, though, will he be available there at 7? And if you don't think that he's going to be there at 7, do you trade up to try to get him? Because I think if you got to try to trade up, you got to jump the Indianapolis Colts. You got to try to get into the top 3. And from going to 7 all the way up to 3, I would imagine you'd have to give up obviously your first-round pick, your second-round pick, your third-round pick, and then maybe even also a fifth-rounder. It's a lot to move up to get a quarterback, but hey, if that's what you think that you need, oh, man. Sir Chai, we rock with you, Mitchell. Tank for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams would be a dream come true. Drake May would be a dream come true, and I think both of those quarterbacks are going to be NFL starters for 10 to 15 seasons, which if you were to tell me, all right, out of all the quarterbacks in this year's draft, I would have Drake May is my favorite personally. I'd have Drake May at number 1, Caleb Williams at number 2, Bryce Young at number 3, and then I'd have C.J. Stroud at number 4. What up, Devin Maycare? Should we keep Carr and get a quarterback and Rook behind Carr? I said it yesterday. I think the worst thing you could possibly do as an organization is bring back DC. It would almost be like you breaking up with your girl and you knew it was never a good fit anyway, but just because your side piece now decided to leave, you're going to bring homegirl back. Like, I just don't think that that's the right way to run this organization, and I'm also not going to try to bring Carr back. I think you are better off moving on. I think you're both better on moving on from both sides. 9 years, nothing happened. And I'm tired of the narrative that the Raiders did Derek Carr wrong. He got 2 $100 million contracts and won nothing. Were the Raiders bad defensively? Yes. But if I was an NFL team and I made my quarterback the highest paid guy in the NFL, I would expect to win no matter what. Derek is not good enough as a quarterback to pay him $34 million this year. I'd just rather you save the money and invest all that Derek Carr money into the defense, into the offensive line, and then get somebody a little bit cheaper. I would not want Derek Carr back to be the quarterback. Let's go to Luis Rodriguez. Crazy news on a crazy day for me. Wife is going into labor. So, Mitch, can I get a Raiders, Luis? I guess, I don't know, how long does labor last? I don't even know. Nobody who I know personally on that level, I don't know how long labor lasts. I'll say this to Luis. If the new boy or girl comes into the world, Raider fan, send me a picture on Instagram. We'll try to get it up on the show. Congratulations. That's freaking awesome. Everybody spam congrats right now to Luis Rodriguez. Wife is literally pushing out a baby, and he's watching the Raiders Report. If that doesn't tell you to subscribe, I don't know what does. Let's go to Drade. F. Brady, thank God. I know there's a lot of people out there that are happy that this ends up going down. I also just saw somebody text me. They go, Mitch, are you going to do a morning boot? I'll tell you what, if this show goes long enough, a coffee boot might be in the recipe. I still got my morning coffee right here. Let's go to Jeffrey Kreiser. Schefter said this morning Brady wasn't even considering the Raiders. He said it was between going back to Tampa or retiring. Correct. He was on Good Morning. Was it, I don't know, Get Up. That's what he was on. He was on Get Up, and that's what he said. Also, remember, Gronk said that last week, which is funny because all the people from ESPN, including Schefter, said that the Raiders were one of the top teams to go get Brady. So the fact that they said it this morning, I think it just kind of shows you. People can speculate, even the big guys. They speculate all the time, but that's what makes this job fun. Marvin Lewis, Mitch, if it's got to be Rodgers and Adams, we'll be asking for a trade soon. Rodgers now becomes a lot more interesting. The fact that, you're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital to make it happen. What's really going to be interesting here is this situation. You got to have a conversation with Mark Davis, and Josh McDaniels needs to say, hey, no matter what, am I going to be back in 2024? If the answer to that is yes, I don't try to make a move. I try to wait and try to get one of those top quarterbacks I tank and get one of the top 2 guys. If the question is, hey, am I going to be good for 2024 no matter what? Mark Davis hit you with a no. Well, now that trade for Aaron Rodgers becomes a lot more interesting. We got Arizona. Tim, could you do a bundle for the 3rd pick in Waller, Carr, Merrick, this year's 2nd, next year's 2nd and 3rd? Would that work? I guess it would depend on how much value that those guys have. To me, though, I believe that a lot of NFL teams would just rather have the draft picks. Like, I think Merrick's a good player, Carr, Waller, and a 3rd-round pick to try to move up. The problem is, with a team like Arizona or whoever you're trying to trade up with, they're bad for a reason. So they're trying to get those draft picks, stay a little bit cheaper, and then build up. A lot of times it doesn't make sense to trade away all those players because teams don't really want those guys. What's up, Patrick B? I saw an article that's Josh McDaniels is interested in Davis Mills. If we get Davis Mills, I'm going to throw up. Davis Mills is the ultimate vanilla quarterback. Imagine walking into a Ben & Jerry's. You got all the flavors in the entire world. And you're like, you know what? I just want vanilla. That's what Davis Mills is. Let's go to Danner 310. And then we got Dylan Erickson. And then we're going to get into our cut here because Tom Brady is retired. We will answer all the super chats after I talk about all the breaking news that just went down. Is Tanner McKee someone we should give an eye on? No, Tanner McKee to me is literally Davis Mills. So I think it's funny. Yes, he is a high IQ player. I get it. He's from Stanford. I don't see the potential there. To me, Tanner McKee will be a quarterback that will be a good backup in the NFL for a very, very long time. Like, he's going to be somebody who's going to stick around and be a continual backup 10 years, guarantee. Why? Because he's going to be able to pick up playbooks. One of the reasons why Ryan Fitzpatrick stuck around in the league so long is because I talked to a source that straight up said he could pick up any NFL offense in a day. Because that's how smart he was. Tanner McKee, I believe, is going to be the exact same type of thing. Dylan Erickson, in 24 hours, McDaniels becomes the worst coach in the division and in the entire NFL. He loses his golden goose, Brady. McDaniels should just pack his bags now. I remember I made a video about 3-4 months ago that said, Raiders should not trust Josh McDaniels to rebuild it. Why? Because he's never been able to build anything. I do think there's a big difference between being a coordinator and a head coach. Josh McDaniels is a good offensive mind. Josh McDaniels would be a good offensive coordinator. But if you want to try to be a good head coach, you got to be a leader of men. And until McDaniels proves to me that he can be a leader of men, I just don't know if he's ever going to be a good head coach. So here we go, guys. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to talk about all the breaking news here around Tom Brady. I'm going to give you quarterbacks to be looking out for in terms of who could be the next QB under center for the Silver and Black. If you send in any super chats, we will get to them after the cut here. And if you all want to keep this show rocking and rolling for the entire day, hey, we can literally keep this thing going. Dylan, appreciate you. Let me get a sip of my coffee here. And if you're happy that Tom Brady is not going to be the quarterback of the Raiders, I want you to go like the video right now. Seeps, you ready to get it going? Seeps is giving me a thumbs up. At least I hope that's his thumb. Here we go. Coming up on the Raiders Report, breaking news around Brady and who's going to be the next quarterback for the Silver and Black. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. We got some breaking news here. Tom Brady has decided to retire from the NFL. So coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest around Brady because it sounds like, according to Schefter, he was never going to come to the Silver and Black anyway. And then on top of that, at the very end of the show, who is going to be the next quarterback for the Silver and Black? We're going to go through my top 5 options, and then, who knows, might even talk about Derek Carr a little bit on the back end. So let's talk about Tom Brady. Retiring, hanging it up. The GOAT has decided that, you know what, I'm no longer going to be playing in this league. He released a video on social media this morning and got to the point really quick. Basically just said he's done. He's going to hang him up. You only get one good retirement, and he was pretty short and sweet this morning. There was definitely a lot of rumors around Brady joining the Raiders. When you look at the Vegas odds for the most part of the offseason, he was the favorite to join the Silver and Black because of his connections with Josh McDaniels. There were people like Schefter, Rappaport said that Brady's going to play another year. So I do think that the retirement came at a bit of a surprise. But guess what? Anything can happen in the National Football League. So how are y'all feeling? Give me your one-word reaction to when you saw the news drop this morning, whether you're seeing it here for the first time Whether you saw it on television, whether, I don't know, Wild 114 decided to text you to wake you up out of a dead sleep and say, hey, did you see Tom Brady retired? What was your one-word reaction to the Brady retirement? My one-word reaction was surprised. I was surprised, and the biggest reason is because I still thought that Brady wanted to play. Then when you got all those insiders saying that, yeah, he's more than likely going to play another year, and considering the fact that every person alive, or I'd say 80% of people, really did. They thought Brady was going to be the quarterback for the Raiders. Now you got to scramble. Now you got to figure out what the hell is going to be plan B, because Brady would have been the guy that you would have hoped could run the McDaniels offense, could potentially help out a young quarterback underneath. And now that he's gone, the free agency pool definitely gets a little bit less. So this is why you subscribe to the Raiders Report. Breaking news, we go live. You want Raiders news coverage 100% for free? I got you covered. Videos every single day, 24/7, 365, even if it's an absolute snowstorm. Look up Dallas right now. We had to skate our way here to the office, but we got that commitment to excellence, and if you do too, join the Raiders Report family and hit the subscribe button. So Tom Brady hangs him up, says, you know what, no longer interested in playing in the NFL, which obviously makes a lot of Raiders fans happy because of the Tuck rule. It also puts a lot of Raiders fans thinking the question of, what are the Raiders going to do now? So what we're going to be talking about here on today's show is Raiders plan B, because everything that's been reported was Tom Brady was plan A. Let's figure it out from there on out. So we're going to be getting into the top 5 quarterbacks most likely to be under center for the silver and black. And they're not ranked in any particular order, but I do think when you think about this question, there are 3 ways that you can go. And I'm going to ask you, how do you think the Raiders should try to find their next QB? Do you go in the draft? Do you go in free agency? Or do you make a trade? Type D for draft, F for free agency, T for trade. You're going to get all those options coming up here right now. But the Raiders Report is asking the nation, giving the nation a voice. I know y'all are loud. Say it with your chest. Go down in the comments. So here we go. The top 5 quarterbacks most likely to be under center for the silver and black. The first guy coming up here on the show, you might have heard of him before. It's Jarrett Stidham. The option is this. He is going to be a free agent this upcoming season, and the Raiders, they could decide to re-sign him. I will say straight up, I don't view Jarrett Stidham as a top 40 quarterback in the NFL, and the only way you should bring Stiddy back is if you plan on trying to tank and getting a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams. And the reason is because he's 2 different QBs. You saw against the 49ers, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was the best game that the Raiders had offensively all season against the number 1 defense in the NFL. But in just 1 week, you got some tape on him. Coaches started to figure out what the Raiders were trying to do. They made corrections, and Stidham had no answers going up against Kansas City. 219 yards, a touchdown, a fumble, an interception. Honestly, man, it was a pretty rough game for Stiddy. I wish him the best. It would not surprise me if the Raiders decided to bring him back as a backup quarterback, but having him as your top option, I do not think is smart unless you are trying to tank. Now, today's show, the Tom Brady breaking news and figuring out who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback, that is sponsored by our awesome guys over at AG1. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. So, I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted immune system support and wanted a supplement that tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. My grandma always said, the early bird gets the worm. AG1 inspires and motivates me to get as many worms as possible every day. AG1 really helps me with getting my day started. Getting out of bed, especially when you're sick, it can be difficult. I'm a person who likes and needs a routine. AG1 helps me stick to my healthy routine, wake up early, take my AG1, take Chuck for a walk, then hit the gym before work. Covering my nutritional basis for the daily literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. Simple. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. Link's going to be in the comments and in the description of today's video. It's going to help promote your gut health, supports immunity, and if you're as sick as what I was yesterday, I don't know if you could tell, my energy's up. Shout out to Athletic Greens for helping me get my butt into the studio today. Let's go to the next guy that the Raiders could bring in. It's Mac Jones. Another guy. I'll be real. I do not want Mac Jones, but the video that I'm trying to create here is illustrating what I believe Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler do. Now remember, if you get Jones, you got to trade for him. And when he was drafted, number 15 overall in the 2021 NFL draft, he made the Pro Bowl. And Jones right now is on New England. Could the Raiders make a deal with New England? I don't have the answers to that. I will admit, Mac Jones underneath Josh McDaniels, who, by the way, are very good friends, was a lot better in 2021. Made the Pro Bowl. Like I said, hell, apparently Josh McDaniels made Mac Jones a Pro Bowler and Derek Carr a Pro Bowler. I say that with the utmost sarcasm. But, I mean, look at the numbers here. Jones in 2021 with Josh McDaniels, 3,801 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 INTs. The 10-7 record is what I care about. Then on the other end, in 2022, Bailey Zappi was better than Mac Jones last year. Let's not get it twisted. Yes, they did not have a lot of offensive firepower around them. If you were to put Mac Jones on this offense, I do think that you would have better numbers. But again, I would just rather you draft a quarterback than go get a QB like Mac Jones. Speaking of the draft, that's where I'm going here next. C.J. Stroud. And the more and more I sit down, and the more I think about what honestly would be best for the Raiders now that Tom Brady's not going to be coming here, I'm starting to think it's Stroud. Just go in the draft. You have a young rookie quarterback on a cheap deal, and then you can build around him. Defense, offensive line. Look at the teams in the Super Bowl and the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, young rookie deal. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow, young deal. You had Brock Purdy, a little bit of a deal. Why? Because football is a team sport, and you look at a lot of these other guys, the highest paid quarterbacks, they didn't make the playoffs. And when you look at Stroud, I was told by a source, Dave Ziegler loves this man. He is a really, really talented dude. He's got all the accuracy. He's got the arm talent. He's got the pocket awareness. Sometimes it scares me when he gets out of the pocket and a play breaks down. That's when he struggles. But the one game where I said if he can go out and he can ball out, that's where it changes the conversation. And Stroud was incredible against Georgia. That is the most defensive-ready college football team I have seen in a very long time. And he shredded them. They should have won. 23 of 34, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Does Stroud play in a very friendly offense? No doubt. Does he have incredible receivers all around him? No doubt. Does he have a great offensive line? Yes. But he still went up against Georgia, and he really, really balled out. Next name coming up here for your Raiders quarterback options, it's Aaron Rodgers, and you got to go in a trade. If you're going to make a trade, I'd rather you trade for Rodgers than Mac Jones. Does it cost less? No, Rodgers is going to cost you way more, but I'd rather you have Rodgers than Mac Jones. So here's the thing. With Rodgers' contract, it's very, very complicated. He is scheduled to make $60 million this year. If you trade for him, though, because of the way his contract works, and he's also said that he might be willing to negotiate to get it down a little bit. He does have 3 years left. Rodgers is a headache. He's coming off one of his worst years in the NFL. 3,695 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The reason why this is an intriguing option, though, is because if you go back about a month, Davante Adams said that he wants to have a little bit of input of who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback. I would like to imagine that him and Rodgers, they get along pretty well, and if Rodgers wanted to come back, it's an option. But the biggest issue with Rodgers is you never know what he's going to do. I do think if you can guarantee that he's going to play another 3 years, maybe that trade makes sense. And McDaniels and Ziegler, though, they're all about team, right? Team, let's build something. Rodgers has never shown me that he's a team guy. He is me, myself, and I. But the dude can play football, and if you're trying to win games and you need to win right now, that might be your ticket option. Let's go to the final thing, and this is the guy that, I'm going to be real with y'all, I think is the most likely to be quarterback for the Raiders. And it scares me because I don't know if I want Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think from a talent standpoint, I will say that Derek Carr is a more talented quarterback than Jimmy G. However, I would imagine that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler think that Jimmy Garoppolo can execute their offensive game plan a lot better than what Derek Carr can. The reason why it also scares me is because you just saw Derek Carr, who is a game manager right now in the time of his career. It's not a knock. It's what he is. You just went 6-11 with the game manager. You really going to try to bring in another game manager? I mean, I think the reason why Garoppolo was successful in New England in his very limited time was because he was in the right system, right? And he played well in the McDaniels system. I get it. Then he goes to San Francisco. Got a great defense, got a great head coach, got all the pieces around him to be successful. If you need Garoppolo to really carry your offense, I just don't know if you're going to be in the right spot ultimately, and you're going to be very happy about it. So here are your Raiders quarterback options. I believe one of these 5 players is going to be the quarterback for the Raiders in 2023. I do know this. Anything can happen. It's going to be insane. There's no doubt about it. So go down to the comments right now and predict. Who will be the Raiders quarterback next season? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Could it be Jimmy Garoppolo? What about a guy like C.J. Stroud? Could it be another rookie quarterback? I don't know, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. I mean, a lot of different options. Jarrett Stidham. Some of y'all I see right now saying, well, what about Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson is expected to be franchise tagged by the Baltimore Ravens. That was reported by Ian Rappaport on January 31st. So it sounds like he's going back. And now I see other people on the live show. Well, can we just bring back Derek Carr? The answer to that is, could you just bring him back? Sure. But DC wants to move on. The Raiders want to move on. The best thing for both sides is to move on. You just saw Derek. He couldn't execute McDaniels' offense. I don't see why you would try to bring him back. And I've said it before, I think the worst thing that the Raiders could do is bring back Derek Carr. Sometimes you just need to split up because DC making $34 million a year, he's not good enough to carry an NFL team. You're better off just finding a cheaper option. But the reason why that there are some people out there saying that, hey, maybe the Raiders could just bring back Derek, it's because he has just been nominated to his 4th Pro Bowl, which, congratulations to him. I'll also say that it's the biggest joke of a Pro Bowl I've ever seen. Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Huntley, who's got 2 touchdowns this year, and then Derek Carr. The reason why it's interesting is because we all know that the Raiders, they had to move on from D.C. by February 15th, or else that $40.4 million guaranteed would have been on his contract. Here's the thing, though. The Raiders, they benched Derek at the final 2 games because they didn't want him to get hurt because of his injury clause. Well, according to the CBA, Article 38, you can go check it out yourself, if Derek Carr is injured playing in the Pro Bowl, the Raiders would have to pay his 2023 salary. I think the fact that Derek is headed to the Pro Bowl, they already benched him, they don't want to pay him, I wouldn't be shocked if Raiders moved on from D.C. on the 5th. There are people out there that think, hey, just bring him back, let's keep him. I'm going to let you answer that before I give you my 2 cents. What's going to happen with Derek Carr? Do you trade him? Type T for trade. Do you cut him? Type C for cut. Or do you decide to keep him? The reason also why I will say you cannot keep DC is because the Raiders want to use that money that you save for Derek, and they want to use it in free agency. If you decide to keep him and then you don't trade him like some people want to do after the draft, then you can't use any of the draft picks that you get this season, and you can't use them in the NFL draft. You got to wait till 2024. I do think whatever Mark Davis tells, okay, whatever Mark Davis tells Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, hey, you got to win this year or else your job's done. Then this conversation changes. If it's, hey, no matter what, you're going to be back in 2024, then there could be a situation where the Raiders decide to keep Derek. And then you save all those draft picks that you get from D.C., and then you use them in the 2024 NFL draft when then hopefully you got to trade up to try to get a QB. I'm still on the team of you should try to trade him. I have still said that I believe the team most likely to trade for him is New Orleans. The fact that they just traded Sean Payton, they got that extra number 1 pick. Use it number 29 overall to get Derek Carr. It's going to be an interesting offseason no matter what. So hopefully you're subscribed. Hopefully you tune into the Raiders Report because we got a lot of content the entire year. All right, y'all, let's give some shout-outs here on the show. Let's see what you all have to say. We got 1,800 people tuned in to the Raiders Report, and if you want to get those super chats on the screen, we'll get to them here in a sec. Give me a sip of coffee real quick, and I'm going to give some shout-outs. Patrick B says trade him. PG2869 says a cut's going to happen. Osiris, trade. J-Ray, trade. Josh Chapa, trade. I do think that Carr has value, but if NFL teams now know the situation that the Raiders are in, I also said this. The fact that Tom Brady has retired, I actually think helps out the Raiders in terms of trading Carr. Because if Brady was an option, everyone was like, there's no way Carr's coming back. Now I think that if I was the Raiders, I would start to leak out, hey, there's a chance we might try to bring back DC. Then that tells other NFL teams, oh crap, we might have to make a move. This is going to be a big week. You got the Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. You got the Senior Bowl. People are already down there. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of conversation here. We got Josh Choppa trade, Zelbo cut, Kevin Blaze, he's typing K for keep, King Higgins trade. Let's go to a super chat from Choosing Art Tattoo. We should just run Stidham for a cheap and spend big on the O-line and the defense. Raiders! I understand that people want to bring in Stidham. I'd offer him a $5 million contract and say, hey, you can try to let it roll. But let me be clear. Jarrett Stidham, if that's your option, you're not going to make it far. If you are okay with saying, hey, we're not going to make the playoffs, then you go with Jarrett Stidham. I get that people like him. But the more and more tape people get on Stidham, the more and more that they're going to be able to shut him down. If this is your option, though, I don't mind the idea of you spending all of your money on the offensive line and the defense. Just stockpile up on all of that and then structure their contracts where they're going to be friendly for them when you bring in a rookie quarterback next season. Let's go to Wanton Fricklefrack. Maybe, just maybe, the curse is now lifted. Maybe, just maybe. I know that there was a lot of people out there that obviously thought, hey, Tom Brady could also jinx the curse. But I know this. I know a lot of Raider fans didn't want Tom Brady. And even for me, it's not that I wanted Brady. It's just I thought it was going to happen. And after such a frustrating year, I wanted to be happy. Like, I just wanted to win football games. I don't think I've ever been looking forward to a year more for the Raiders. And then they go 6-11. And they blow 5 games of 10-point leads. I mean, this past year was a heartbreaking, crushing season. I wanted to win. And if Brady, which I thought was going to give us the best chance to win, that's what I wanted. And now that it can't happen, wipe your hands clean. I don't give a shit about Brady. Let's move forward. Let's go to Patrick B. I have a feeling Arizona will be looking to deal Kyler. I mean, that would be interesting to me. You could probably get him cheaper right now because he's got an ACL injury and he's not going to be able to play this year. I do think, though, Arizona is actually a sneaky team for Derek Carr. And the reason why I say that is because Kyler's not going to play this year. If the Raiders wanted to trade up to 3 and they didn't want to give up a lot of their draft capital, and if Arizona said, hey, we just need a quarterback for 1 year, and they want to be able to stockpile on extra draft picks for, 2024 in the future when Kyler's healthy, that's an option. So, let's say you give up Derek Carr, you swap your first-round picks, and then you throw in another 2024 first-round pick. That helps out Arizona in the future because then they're like, well, no matter what, we're just going to throw away this season, but we have a quarterback that we might be able to win with. So Arizona's a sneaky team to trade up with if Derek Carr's involved in a trade. Let's go to Gio. With no Brady, another team may overpay for Jimmy Garoppolo. You're right. I believe the teams right now that would be the most interested in Garoppolo, the Raiders are going to be up there, and then the New York Jets. The New York Jets, he's got that connection with Robert Saleh. They were together in San Francisco. I think that he has a chance to go to Carolina. I think he has a chance to go to Indianapolis. I mean, the free agency pool just got shrunk big time. Let's go to old school 1961. Stidham couldn't beat out Mac Jones or a washed-up Cam Newton. He's not a full-time starter, and hell no to Jimmy. I will say that Stidham that came out that year is a lot different now, right? I mean, he's been able to continue to work in the McDaniels offense. He's gotten more reps at the NFL. But that's a good point, right? I mean, the worst offense I've ever seen McDaniels run was with Cam Newton at it, and he wasn't good enough to beat him out. Stidham knows the system. That's why he's here. You don't want Stidham as your starting quarterback. Let's go to my guy, Papaya Man. Curious to know how Devontae would feel about having a rookie quarterback start the season. We're kind of in win-now mode. What message would it send to the team? I think the message that it sends is if you get a guy like C.J. Stroud, you figure out a way to get a guy like Bryce Young, it still tells the team that we're trying to win right now. If you wait and get a quarterback that's a project, like I think Will Levis has high upside, not ready to start right away. Anthony Richardson has high upside. He's not even close to being ready to start right away. Like, he's not even a first round. He shouldn't be drafted in the first round, but he will because of his upside. And NFL teams are going to convince themselves that, hey, we can make this kid into something. And then nobody other there's not another quarterback in this draft that I'd be like, That's the guy. Devontae wants to win right now. Devontae also knows that he's not going to get the remaining big-time money on the back of his contract. The way that the Raiders structured his contract, 5 years, 140. He makes $67.5 the first 3 years. That's an average of $22 million essentially. Then the back half of his contract, $40 million and $40 million. The Raiders can get out of Devontae Adams' back of his contract and only cost them like $7 million. They can save $72 million. Devontae knows if he wants to make that big-time money, they need to win football games. Let's go to Chris. At this point, we can't upgrade at quarterback for this year. I disagree with that. And I think it's the big thing is Raider fans think Derek Carr is a lot better than what he is. If I were to poll people who I respect in this office, and I bet you if you were to ask a lot of NFL GMs, more GMs would say that Derek's not even a top 15 or 16 QB. And that's not a knock on Carr. Right now we're in an NFL where we got a lot of good quarterbacks, and that's what Derek is. He is a good quarterback. He's probably somewhere between 12 and 20. I like to call that quarterback purgatory. My problem is this. I'm done settling for that type of deal because it's 9 straight years. You've never been able to win anything. And if you can move on, you move on. If that means going in the draft, look for an upside. And that's what you're doing. Richard. People are overreacting to the game versus the 49ers. Big facts. Like, I've seen Stidham play for a long time. I watched him in the preseason. I watched him at New England. You go flip on the tape. He had a great game against San Francisco. No doubt about it. But San Francisco only had a week to prep, and I actually think San Francisco was looking past them. They were like, all right, we're not even going to worry about you. But in the NFL, it's so competitive that if you get caught, then, hey, you get caught. Let's go here. Be the GM. Should the Raiders draft a quarterback in the first round? Type D for draft, or I want you to type P for pass. We got 1,800 people watching right now. If you haven't hit the like button yet, believe it or not, it does help us out quite a bit. We are a free channel. We are run by just a bunch of bros and dudes hanging out, trying to have a good time. And when the bosses look at all the numbers, they look at literally everything. So if you appreciate what we're doing, hey, take a second, hit the like button. It helps us out. Here we go. Should the Raiders draft a quarterback in the first round? Let's see what you guys have to say. I got Brian Ellis. Pass. Go for the second round. DJ Watt says draft. Bronx Raider. Pass. Daco Bulls. Draft. Sarah Otto. What up, Sarah? Draft. DJ Watt. Draft. 209. Pass. Mike Savage. Draft. Jason Eck. Pass. Bruce Davis. Pass. We got Big Smokey in Denny Village. Pass. I mean, right now, this is pretty freaking split on what you want the Raiders to do. Jonathan Draft, Raider Muerte, Jesus, learn your Spanish, Mitch. D, you know I don't speak Spanish. Matthew DeLong, pass. Mike Savage, draft. Danny Village, pass. I mean, this one is right down the middle. Very, very split on what y'all think that the Raiders should do. So this is what's going to happen here. We went live because the breaking news around Tom Brady has decided to retire from the NFL. If you want to keep the live show going, keep sending those questions in. Keep sending in the super chats. We are more than happy to answer all of those for you. If not, then I am going to have to probably do we have the ability to send this to Loop or no chance? No chance. All right, it's all good. It's all good. The noobs didn't kick in yet. Rudy Reyes. We got Raw. We're going to keep this thing going for a little bit longer, and then we will have to end up shutting down stream here just because we are a company. We need the studio time, and that's essentially how it works. So We Out Here Entertainment says pass. Again, if you want those questions, comments on the show, use hashtag Raiders or you can super chat. So super chat is going to guarantee you a spot up here. If you use hashtag Raiders, that's going to tell producer Seeps which questions to throw up here. So essentially, it's just like any kind of Raiders mailbag that we do. Let's go to Nick Moss. What up, Nick? Teddy Bridgewater to act as a bridge and draft a quarterback in the mid-late round one to eventually start. I don't want Teddy Bridgewater. And if you're going to look for a bridge quarterback, I would say the most likely bridge quarterbacks that you would see for the Raiders, option number 1, Jarrett Stidham. Option number 2, Jacoby Brissett. And the reason why it's those two guys is because they have worked in the McDaniels and Ziegler system before. I don't want either of those guys, and I definitely don't want Teddy B. And then in terms of a mid-round one eventually start, Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, I believe, are both gone in the top 20. And if I'm going to have a bridge quarterback, I'd rather you just have a bridge quarterback that gives you that bridge to Drake May or Caleb Williams. Then you just go all in 2024 for one of those guys. Let's go to Leo Too Smooth. What's up, my guy? If this season doesn't work out, who do you think our next head coach is going to be? It's a great question. I think McDaniels and Ziegler need to sit down with Mark Davis. You sit down with Mark Davis and ask him the honest question. If we don't make the playoffs in 2023, what happens? Are we back for 2024 or are we not? If Mark says, you'll be back, I would throw away this season if I was McDaniels and if I was Ziegler, and then try to get one of those top quarterbacks in 2024. If he's like, no, we need to win. Right now, our roster is built to win now, and it is built to win right now. They have enough money. They got enough draft capital. If they hit the right guys in free agency, if you make the right draft picks, you can compete in 2023. And if he says, no, we need to win right now, then it's going to be interesting. In terms of the next head coach, there's going to be a lot of candidates out there. I'll probably have to make more videos around it, though. When I sit back and I think of all the guys that I wanted last year, I wanted Brian Daboll. In terms of some other names off the top of my head that I'm just trying to think of some coordinators, Eric Bieniemy is never going to happen. I do think Kellen Moore, if he has a good run in Los Angeles, could be a name to keep in mind. I'm also a big fan of a lot of guys from the Sean McVay tree. Let's go to Captain Yoga Boya. Yoga Boya, what show is that from, or Netflix series? You remember? Yoga Boya, Yoga Boya? Somebody's got to get it. If you send in a super, we will put you up on screen a little bit quicker. Somebody said Harbaugh. Harbaugh is always going to be an interesting option, and no to John Gruden. Yoga Boya, Yoga Boya. It has to do with football. The league. Isn't that that's the Netflix fantasy football show? Yeah, the league. Yeah, Big Z's got it. It's like Yoga Boya. I don't know if that's how you spell it. No idea. All right, biggest mistake was not having a concrete backup plan for moving on from Carr at the beginning of the 2022 season. I don't know if I 100% agree with that because you gave Derek Carr an extension. But the extension that you gave him was, yeah, it was a one-year prove-it deal, which is what it was, and I was happy that they made the deal that they did. I mean, I think at that point you're hoping that Derek can get it, right? Like you're hoping that he's successful. Because you make that deal, and it's the perfect deal, because if it doesn't work out, then you can move on from him, save $120 million, and you're scot-free. If it works out, and you know that Derek can win in your system, and you know the Raiders are a playoff team, well, now you're paying a quarterback $34 million, which is what he would have made this year, 34.9, somebody who took you to the playoffs. So I don't disagree 100% with what you're saying, but I also don't agree with it either. Let's go to Papaya Man. Mitch, who are your top 3 quarterbacks in the upcoming draft? I don't know if I have the graphic for it. I guess it doesn't really I don't know if it matters. My top 3 quarterbacks are, at number 1, it's Bryce Young. At number 2, it's C.J. Stroud. Number 3 is Will Levis. And at number 4 is Anthony Richardson. But, Bryce Young, to me, is the quarterback that's the safest. He is going to be 5'10", 180 pounds, going to be a small dude. His ability to last long in the NFL, I don't know if it's going to be there because of the injuries. He's going to have injury concerns. But when you watch the intangibles, when you just look at his cool calmness, I mean, it puts you at ease. That's why I like Bryce Young. That's why I'd be willing to bet on him. Stroud, though, I do think is higher upside because he's built more like your prototypical NFL quarterback. He's got a better arm. He's probably just as accurate as Bryce Young, but his ability to roll out of the pocket scares me. And then Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are 2 guys that are not even close to being ready to play right away in the NFL. You would need to have them learn behind a QB. The reason why I was okay with drafting a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson is because I thought, okay, you bring in a guy like Brady, you can try to win in 2023 and then hand the keys off to a young QB. With that situation gone now, I don't really see why you would draft one of those 2 people because I'd rather than you just wait for 2024 and get Drake May or a Caleb Williams. Yeah, nothing's guaranteed, but I'd rather you just... I think now the Raiders are in a situation where you either draft C.J. Stroud early or you try to trade for Aaron Rodgers, The other options, they're not very inspiring options for me.
Mitch, I got a question for you.
All right.
With Sean McVay uncertainty with the Rams,
okay,
could you see Matthew Stafford potentially be on the block?
Dude, I don't want Stafford. With his arm issues and everything going on, I'm good on that. I know some people were throwing out the Baker Mayfield idea. It's going to be a shit show of an offseason, which that's what you signed up for, man. You sign up for a big-time shit show. So here's some of the logistics here for Aaron Rodgers, all right? I'm looking at his contract right now. So if the Raiders were to trade for Aaron Rodgers, it would be a $15.79 million cap hit for 2023 from a cash perspective, okay? So only $15.79 million. So you could end up doing that. The issue is, though, his other deals, his other contracts, his other years that would be remaining do get a little bit, interesting. It's a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. And I think to get Rodgers, you got to give up 2 first-rounders, probably 2 second-rounders. But there is a chance that Rodgers could end up coming to the Raiders. And if that happens, then, hey, that tells you everything you need to know. They're trying to win right now. Let's go to Sonny Elliott. What quarterback besides Rodgers is worth trading for? Nobody. I mean, there's not another quarterback that's realistic, right? Like, that's the realistic option that you would trade for. Like, I'm not trading the first-round pick for Mac Jones. I can't even think of another quarterback that would even be on the block that would be worth a first-round pick. Like, if there's other QBs that then start to become available, that changes up your situation here. But Rodgers is the only one, man. And that's why the fact that Brady now is retired makes this a lot more interesting because I think the Raiders thought that they had Tom Brady in his bag. And apparently, they don't. Let's go to Angel. I was only now notified to the stream. What news did I miss? Angel, Tom Brady, retired from the NFL. So now we're in a situation, what do the Raiders do next? Do you sign Jimmy G? Do you trade for Mac Jones? Do you trade for Aaron Rodgers? Do you just re-sign Jarrett Stidham? Do you bring back Derek Carr? I don't think that bringing back DC is the option that the Raiders want to go. Somebody said Geno Smith. I think that Geno Smith just ends back up on Seattle. He is coming off a good year, but, I mean, realistically, man, I think Geno Smith's probably going to get like a 3-year, $100 million deal. Congratulations to Geno. He had a great season with the Seattle Seahawks. There ain't no chance in hell I'm giving Geno Smith $30 million a year. Like that, I would just rather you draft a quarterback. Like, I'm not doing the whole Geno Smith experiment. Somebody said Lamar Jackson, he's getting franchise tagged. That was reported yesterday by Rappaport that the Ravens are going to franchise tag Lamar Jackson. But you're in the offseason right now, so nothing can be officially official, if that makes sense. But they're going to franchise tag him. Let's go to one of the OGs, LC Raider. Trade for Rodgers. Not going to lie, I really wanted that Brady jersey. I don't know if I definitely would not have gotten a Brady jersey. And I talked myself into Brady happening so much that right now we're trying to scramble to figure out what exactly is going to happen with the silver and black. And I know a lot of people like Tim Brown, for example, were like, I don't want Tom Brady. I do think that's a little bit selfish of Tim Brown to say because I could also make the argument, Brady was 46, sure, but Brown also played with Jerry Rice, who will always be known as a 49er as far as I'm concerned, and he was still able to play at a high level. Max Crosby was on a show yesterday, and Crosby said that he would love to play with Tom Brady. Why? Because he's a leader, and I think that's what this Raiders team really needed. You needed a leader because you lost your leader in Rich Bisaccia. Josh McDaniels couldn't fill those shoes. But trade for Aaron Rodgers, again, I'm going to read this tweet here. If the Raiders traded for Aaron Rodgers, he would represent a $15.79 million cap hit for 2023. From a cash perspective, his 2023 salary would be $1.165 million base salary and a $58.3 option bonus. Trading for him, though, would require the Raiders to be approximately $60 million under the cap at the time of the trade. Therefore, you would absolutely have to clear the Derek Carr contract to then get him in that ballpark. So the only way you can trade for Derek Carr or trade for Aaron Rodgers is if you move on from DC right away. Let's go to the Raider Dude 30. Why don't we go out and find a top 10 defense that would finally be nice? Maybe a quarterback could finally win here. I just think finding a top 10 defense is a lot harder than what people make it out to. You also got to have the right pieces in place in terms of a coach. You can't have all this turnover like they've had, which has definitely hurt them. And I do think that that's one of the biggest reasons why the Raiders' defense has been bad. Yeah, Paul Guenther in 2019 brought in all of his dudes. Cool. Then 2020 hits, COVID year. You got a young team. All your draft picks have been busts, realistically, at least the big-time ones that you're hoping could play on the defensive side of the football. They've been busts. Then you go to 2020. Bring in a new DC. 2020, learn the Paul Guenther system. Didn't work. 2021, you brought in Gus Bradley. Then in 2022, you bring in Patrick Graham. So you got 3 different defensive schemes working here with 3 different players, and it just, you try to smash it all together, and it didn't work out. To find a top 10 defense, I think the next video that I'm going to have to make here is going to be how to fix the Raiders' defense. I think that that's going to have to be the next video, how to fix the Raiders' defense. Because I agree. Raiders need a good D. Giggity. Let's go to Anthony S. You see Raiders drafting Hendon Hooker. Man, I don't think it makes sense. I like Hendon Hooker. He is a good quarterback. But Hendon Hooker is older than Lamar Jackson. Think about that. He's older than Lamar Jackson. Like, he's coming off an ACL injury. He's not going to play this year. He's got the ACL, so you're not going to see Hendon Hooker step foot on a field until he's 26 years old coming off an ACL injury. Like, I get it. QBs can come off the ACL. They can bounce back. It's a much different position. But 26 years old, that part of me scares me. And I don't want to invest too much on age, right? But if I'm going to invest in a young QB that can't even play this year, why would I do that? I don't see the point. Let's go to Gio. Would you check if Justin Fields may be available? I don't think that you're going to make the deal for Justin Fields personally. Like, maybe if Chicago wanted to trade out of it, I would say it would probably cost you a first and a third round pick to get Fields. And if I was Chicago, I would want the Raiders' 7th overall pick. And sure, you throw in your third rounder, which is pick, 78, I think, or something like that off the top of my head. Fields is an incredible quarterback. No doubt about it. He's athletic as hell. But in my personal belief, Justin Fields is not that good of a thrower. And I don't know if I want to give up a first and a third round pick for a QB who I view as not being a very good thrower of the football. So, good athlete, yes. But I'd rather just take C.J. Stroud than trade for Justin Fields. Let's go to George. Washington State Real Estate, Jimmy G, 2023. Trade the farm for Caleb in 2024. I mean, if you brought in Garoppolo in 2023, my biggest fear with that would be you're going to have to pay him let's say you pay him $16, $20 million. You're probably going to end up winning 7 or 8 games. I think the problem with Garoppolo is Garoppolo's too good to give you in that range of where you need to be to get somebody like Caleb Williams or Drake May. I think if you brought in a guy like Garoppolo, you probably win 7, 8, 9 games, which puts you somewhere in the middle of the draft. And if your idea is to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, bro, you got to be in top 5 because it's going to be Caleb Williams, I think, is going to go number 1, and I think Drake May is going to go number 2 next year, or you can flip them. So if you want to try to get one of those 2 guys, bringing in Jimmy G doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're going to be too good with Jimmy G. Not saying you're going to be great, but you're going to be too good to get one of those 2 guys unless you're like, F it, I'm trading away all the picks. I'm giving up all the picks. That's what we're doing. Let's go to Brian Shoemaker here. You guys are watching the Raiders Report. We decided to go live for the breaking news around Tom Brady retiring from the NFL, and now we are trying to figure out what the hell the Raiders are going to do moving forward. It's going to be interesting. There's no doubt about it. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. If you haven't already liked the video, it does help us out a lot. All right, hey, you got to go back. I didn't get to that one. Why are you talking about the Raiders when you a Jets fan? I'm not a Jets fan. I think the problem with this is I grew up on the East Coast, and people think I'm a Jets fan because I work there. And if anybody's got a problem with a college kid trying to pay their way through school, I think that makes you look like a shitty human being personally. I did. I worked as an intern for the New York Jets to help put myself through college. If that makes me a bad dude, then that makes me a bad dude. I'm a Raider fan now, though, because I went to that game in Oakland in 2019 when they played the Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football. I went then in Week 9 against the Lions. I went to the final game in Oakland all the way back in 2019 against the Jags. Raider Nation is my family, and the more and more fans that I met, they were my family. So, Brian, you could say what you want, man. I was once a Jets intern. You are 100% right, my dude. Let's go to Brandon Jasper. Mitch, what is Locals? Locals is a great place. I mean, it's a great, great place where you can get personal interaction. You can hang out with a lot of people. And I do plan on going live today over on Locals. We'll see what today's schedule turns out to be. I got no idea what the schedule is going to be now. But my next video that I do live on Locals, I'm going to do a mock draft. So if you want to do a mock draft with me, come hang out with Brandon. I know Aaron will be there, Wild One, a lot of the greats. A lot of the greats will be there. Let's go to Mundo878K. Tank for Williams. Gruden got 3 years, so should Josh McDaniels. That's fair. I hear your reasoning behind that, but also Gruden never had a losing season, right? Like, the Raiders never had a losing season with Gruden. So Gruden also had a lot stacked up against them. I do not want Gruden back. I mean, you're going to go back and look at Gruden and Mayock maybe being one of the worst head coach general managers in the draft ever. Like, literally ever. So, oh, man. It's, I don't want Gruden back, but I hear you. Josh McDaniels, I don't know if I want to have 3 years, so let's go to Splash Mob. If Carr gets injured, it's the NFL's fault, not the Raiders. I mean, it's both people's fault, right? Like, it's him making the Pro Bowl. So the reason why this is a conversation is because Derek Carr got benched. They didn't want him to get his money because if he were to get injured, then you'd be on the hook for essentially 2023, which is $32.9 million, and then in 2024, you'd be on the hook for $7.5. Smush that together, $40.4 million. Now that he's going to the Pro Bowl, according to the CBA, Article 38, if Carr is injured in the Pro Bowl, you have to pay him. So if Carr gets injured, it's just unlucky. I'm not going to put blame on anybody getting injured. It would just be unlucky. Let's go to Gustavo. Purdy getting Tommy John surgery. That's not true, unless something new came out. Purdy injured his UCL. So there's a difference. There is UCL surgery, which takes about 6 months to recover from. Total reconstruction of the UCL, that's Tommy John. That I know in baseball can be 12 to 18 months, so it is a little bit different. Jimmy G probably stays in San Francisco for another year. That's, I think, the route that San Francisco is going to go with, if I'm being real with you. Because Trey Lance, I have no idea what happens with Trey Lance. Hoping the Saints trade for Carr with that 29th pick. You and me both, man. Mondo, I'll say this, man. Family, I don't mind family coming at each other. You know, I think like that's what makes this show really cool. I'm not somebody, like, I'm never going to sit up here and say that I don't like somebody that I've never met. Now, if you talk bad about my family, that changes a little bit. Shout out to Docs, Graphic Raider. That's my guy right there. I appreciate that you have my back, but I've never met Brian. I just think that sometimes people react to what they hear on the internet and they don't actually think about everything. Brian, say you hate the Jets, and I believe you. I hate the Jets. I mean, I swear to y'all in my grandfather's life that I am a Raider fan. I bleed silver and black. I give up so much family time, personal life for this family and organization. And I told myself I wouldn't be able to call myself a Raider fan, which I didn't the first year. I couldn't call myself a Raider fan the first year of doing the show because I don't feel like I earned it. The more and more people that I've met, I feel like being a Raider fan, you got to earn that stuff. So I said until I went to my first game in 2019, until I hung out with people in Oakland at the Coliseum, got to know Raider Nation a little bit more. I'm a family man, man. I got my mom. My mom is the youngest of 9. My dad is the oldest of 6. The closest fan base that I've ever seen to a family are the Raiders. That's why I'm a Raider fan, because of Raider Nation. Let's go to KZar42. No Brady, no Rodgers, no Carr, and no Jimmy G. Then who? I think you got to go in the draft. I mean, it's not a pretty picture right now for the Raiders. There are a lot of different things that could potentially happen here for the Raiders. I think C.J. Stroud now is a lot more of a possibility than ever before. I believe re-signing Jarrett Stidham could be a possibility. If honest to God, I think drafting C.J. Stroud now might be one of the most likely things. Under that, I think it's Rodgers. And then under that's probably Mac Jones. Like, it's going to be interesting. Let's go to Clash. Taze IG. I'll have to look at it here.
So, Mitch, speaking of Rodgers,
okay,
when you see this,
yep,
he posted a back shoulder throw from Rodgers in silver and black about 37 minutes ago.
Ooh. All right, hang on a second here. Yeah, Taze IG is interesting. Hang on. This could be, I'll tell you what. I already said it. If the Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, I'm live for 12 hours. So, hang on, I got to tweet this out. Davante Adams. I should probably be quicker at this. All right, how about this? Would you want Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. Seeps, if you could give some shout-outs here, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I don't know if we have the weigh-in made. It's all good. All right. Do you want Aaron Rodgers to be the Raiders quarterback? Y for yes, N for no. Seeps is going to give some shout-outs here on today's show. All right, Seeps.
Here we go.
It's all you.
Anthony's typing his M, I'm assuming for maybe. Alvin saying N. I Am Punchy saying Y. A lot of Y's coming in the chat. Bonnie saying Y. Joshua saying Y. 3 Chips saying Y. Kevin Blaze. Laker Nation. Cheap Poetry. David Romero is saying no. The Aaron Rodgers back shoulder throw to Davante Adams. Chris typing Y. David typing N. Michael typing N. Gary Fake saying no. Juan Lopez saying yes. We Out Here Entertainment, yes. Loco Rodriguez saying Y. Robert saying yes. Angel saying yes. The chat's moving so fast. Tony Jackson saying yes. Jeff Garcia saying Y/no. Jose saying no. Matt Reyes saying yes. PG saying no. Raider Muerte saying Y.
I mean, whoo-wee. So, I'll tell you what, that's an interesting rumor. Also, Aaron Rodgers spoke on the Pat McAfee show about 2 days ago. Maybe yesterday. I don't even remember at this point. Everything's clouding together. And he straight up said that he was been hearing that the Packers have been making plans without him. And he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. I mean, if that ends up going down, wow. And again, if you're an NFL team and you are serious about trying to keep your stars happy, and if you told Davante Adams that he's going to have input of who's going to be the next quarterback, and then you don't give him that input, I think that makes you bad, and that's going to make Davante really ticked off. Rodgers to the Raiders, man. Again, his contract is very complicated, okay? I know we have a few quote graphics in Raiders if you dig through to kind of illustrates what his contract looks like, but essentially, if the Raiders trade for him, it's like 15.7. It costs 15.7 million, but because his contract is so crazy and weird, I encourage you to go on Over the Cap, look it up, okay? That's how I would do it. And then his contract is like prorated. You do have to still spend all this big-time money on the back end, but it's like you need cash, you need all these different things. I'm going to have Seeps try to give us the quote here in terms of on his contract. Yeah, I think it's on his contract. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to try to get you guys the contract details. I'm going to put them up on screen. I know I've already talked about this on a show. I've broken this down, so we will see. What up, Laker Nation? We got Raiders eating too many mushrooms. Terry Gunn says no. Keep Carr from Juan. Worst thing the Raiders could do as an organization is keep Derek Carr, and I will continue to say that. The Leak, F yeah, what's up? If you want a shout out here on the Raiders Report, answer this question right now. The Leak says trade. Apple Do, yes. Suck a free Raider, yes. Hell yeah, from Harold. We got Rodgers to LV from Bash Sanchez. This is that Davante Adams thing. That's interesting to me, man. That's I know it's like Davante's doing that on purpose. It almost reminds me of literally yesterday or 2 days ago when J.J. Watt posted a picture of him and D'Amico Ryans together in Texans gear. Like, certain guys know certain things before everyone else. That's interesting. All right, so here is via Over the Cap, Rodgers' contract if dealt. For the team acquiring Rodgers, they would be on the hook for the salary for the year. The cap charge would be $59.5 million. However, if they do not exercise his option, and the Raiders, if you make the trade, you would exercise the option. So it would be $15.79 million if they were to exercise the option. Rodgers has an injury guarantee of $49.25 million for 2024, but does not become fully guaranteed until 5 days after the 2023 Super Bowl. So essentially, very similar to what the Raiders just dealt with Derek Carr. If Rodgers was cut after 2023, it would cost the team $43.725 million on the 2024 cap. If he retired, they could split that as $14.575 million in 2024 and 2029. Again, as you can see, the details here around Rodgers, and the reason why we're talking about, yes, Jose Esperada, Adams posted on his IG catching a pass from Rodgers. He did that, and it was also in silver and black. So I'll tell you this right now, this is interesting. If the Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, I'm here. I'm here for 12 straight hours. Buckle up. Like, it's going to be a wild one. Also, Seeps, if you want, I do have 2 Rodgers trades in Raiders graphics as well, because I do think that there's 2 options that the Raiders could potentially do if they trade for Rodgers, and it does depend more on what Green Bay wants to do. Does Green Bay want to do a rebuild, or does Green Bay want to just say, F it, we want Derek Carr? Because if I was the Packers, and if Jordan Love wanted to go somewhere else because he's salty about Green Bay and the way that they treated him with Rodgers, then I do think that something else that could happen is Derek Carr just rejoins Rich Bisaccia in Green Bay. Yeah, I get it. Bisaccia is not the head coach, but Bisaccia is there, and if I was also DC, I would think the NFC North is winnable. I don't think that it would be, and I don't think him going to a cold weather would be the best option because he's 0-7 in his career in games under 37 degrees, and I'll be real with you, it's going to get cold in Green Bay. I'm not a weatherman, but I can guarantee you he's going to play in a few games under 37 degrees. So we went live here on the Raiders Report for the breaking news of Tom Brady retiring from the NFL, but because Tom Brady retired, and we know that Davante Adams has some input of who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback, he just posted on his Instagram. I mean, I would say this, Seeps. If you could message some of those guys out there, I would like to get an Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders cut. I would like to get that together. Get a player card. Oh, and I'll be good, honestly. I'll be good. So we had 2 trade ideas, and the first trade idea that you see up here on the show is the Raiders would receive Aaron Rodgers. The Packers would get a first-round pick, so number 7 overall, a second-round pick in 2023, 38 overall, Derek Carr and Darren Waller. To me, this option is more based on Green Bay still wants to try to win right now, and Jordan Love wants to be traded away from the Green Bay Packers. I think this could be trade idea number 1. You know that Green Bay was already interested in Darren Waller, and you know that Derek Carr has that good relationship with Rich Bisaccia. How about this? Let me know. Who wins this trade? LV for the Raiders or GB for the Green Bay Packers? Let me know what you guys are thinking. LV for the Raiders or GB for the Green Bay Packers? The reason why that this is here is because the Raiders are trying to win now, and the Green Bay Packers say, all right, man, we're moving on. We don't want Jordan Love. I see a lot of y'all saying GB. I'm going to be real. I think if the Raiders were to pull off a trade for Rodgers, this would actually be a good deal for the Silver and Black, which some of y'all might disagree with that, but some of y'all say too much. In real life, I don't think it's enough. And I think that's people evaluating the quarterback play. Now, maybe Green Bay would be interested in giving up a little bit too much or too more for Derek Carr. I mean, you're giving up a 4-time NFL MVP. Derek, again, very mediocre quarterback right now. Yes, Darren Waller is good. He's got some injury concerns. You're giving up a first and a second. It's a lot, but that's what Aaron Rodgers is going to cost. If Russell Wilson goes for Drew Lock, tight end, 3 other players, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and if you don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go for this, I'm telling you, man, Mitch, you're out of there today. I mean, I try to give you guys my honest opinion of what I believe it would end up costing to get Rodgers. So this would be trade idea number 2. Do you have trade idea number 1? There's only one in there, really. Interesting. Well, so trade idea number 1 was the Raiders give up 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. Interesting. No doubt about it. All right, let me see here. Let me see. Somebody said I think I'm buttered. Nah, man, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you think that we can get a cut out of it, let's get a cut. I want people to have everything ready to push it out. That's essentially it. Yeah. All right. So PG2869 says Green Bay. Pat Phillips gonna go with Green Bay. JR, no first round. You ain't getting Rodgers unless you're giving up a first round pick. I don't see how it's possible. Las Vegas winning that trade from John Lopez. I agree with you personally. Wilson was horrible. Yep, I don't disagree with that. Alan Cruz says Green Bay. Matthew DeLong says Green Bay. Short Dog, going to go Green Bay. John Lopez, LV. Agent Red, Green Bay. If you think the Green Bay Packers win this deal, then you don't want Aaron Rodgers, and that's okay. I just think if you were going to trade for a 4-time NFL MVP, this is probably what it's going to cost you, and I think it honestly costs you more. I really do. So when I do this show, I don't do it in terms of what I think the most friendly thing is for the Raiders. I do it in terms of trying to show you how much I do. I think it will end up costing, and it's going to cost a lot. So right now, guys, we're trying to get a show together. We're trying to get a show together here on, what's the right way to say it? Trying to get a show together on the whole rumor of potentially trading for Aaron Rodgers. For those that don't know, Davante Adams, he posted on his Instagram story, back shoulder fade of Rodgers and him in silver and black. The video's in silver and black, not in the Raiders. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to get you a cut on that. If you use hashtag Raiders or you super chat, we're going to do our best to get you up on screen here. So this is only a trade idea. It's not a trade that actually happened. It was an idea that I put out probably about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago on the Raiders Report. We went live for the breaking news of Tom Brady retiring from the NFL. And obviously because of that, we're trying to figure out what plan B is. What are the Las Vegas Raiders going to do now at the quarterback position? It has been reported that if the Raiders did want to pull off a trade with Rodgers, they need to have a lot more money. And they probably would have to move on from Derek Carr before they can pull off a trade for Aaron Rodgers. So if you haven't already subscribed, man, keep your phone close to you, because I have a feeling today, this week in general, man, is going to be crazy. I really think that today is going to be insane. I just got that gut feeling. You know when you go live, and for those of you that were live with me last year when the Raiders traded for Davante Adams, I remember doing that show, and I feel bad for Amir Abdullah because we went live that the Raiders signed Amir Abdullah, and then like 20 minutes later, it was, totally different that the Raiders traded for Davante Adams. I got a feeling. Once the NFL gets going, I mean, you saw the hirings yesterday, right? AFC Championship or AFC NFC game ends. Then you just start rolling with coaches getting hired. And then big reports come out. And now you got this. Brady retires. The NFL is just snowballs over and over and over. So we'll see. I see a lot of people sending in super chats. This is what's going to happen. We're going to try to get you guys a cut here around the rumor of Aaron Rodgers potentially getting traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So just, keep that in mind because Davante Adams posted on his Instagram. We're going to talk about that for 12 to 15 minutes. I just got the thumbs up that we're going to be ready to go on that. After that, at AG1, after that, we will then go back into the super chats. We'll go back into answering all of y'all's questions. And as long as you want to keep this live show going, my job is to try to keep you guys happy and keep this live show. Yep. All right, so I see super chats in there from John Rowe. I see Comic Toby, Enrique, Xavier, Julio. We got Mondo, Cole Rommel, Tyler Lewis, Casual, Papaya Man. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of super chats that we will get to, so don't worry. If you send in a super chat, we'll get to it. It's just you got to be a little bit patient with us. We don't have as many people in the office today because there's a huge ice storm in Dallas, and literally Dallas is shut down. So a lot of people are chilling at home. They're still working from home, but in terms of our at-studio office people, it is a little bit different. So just bear with us here. We're working through everything as quick as we possibly can. My opinion says we ain't getting Rodgers. Trade idea number 2 is nuts. And if you're going to trade for Rodgers, it's got to be nuts. I mean, how about this, okay? If you guys want to be featured, how about this? This was my trade idea. What up, Buddy Bear? I just saw he said no more Brady talk. Buddy Bear, I literally wore your jersey because I knew how happy you'd be. Give me your trade ideas. If you send in a super chat with your trade idea for Aaron Rodgers, we'll put it up on the show. I mean, I think that's what this show's about, giving you guys a voice, and then we'll talk about them. Let's talk about them. I mean, you got to get creative, because if you think it's just going to be first-round pick and Derek Carr for Aaron Rodgers, you're crazy. I mean, it's going to be a lot. Base Sanchez, 4 first-round picks for Khalil King. I mean, it really could be something like that. Straight up. I mean, it could be a whole lot. All right, here we go. We actually just got a new report out from Albert Breer on Derek Carr, and it says, one of the reasons Derek Carr would prefer to be traded instead of getting released outright by the Raiders is to save face. The optics of it look better if you get traded than if you get cut. That's from Albert Breer. Just came out. He said that Derek Carr, one of the reasons Derek Carr would prefer to be traded instead of getting released outright by the Raiders is to save face. That's very interesting. I almost don't even know if I believe that. This is kind of sad, honestly. If this is true, this is honestly kind of sad. Report just from Albert Breer said one of the reasons Derek Carr would prefer to be traded instead of getting released outright by the Raiders is to save face, according to Albert Breer. That's wild. Albert Breer doesn't know anything from John Rowe. I mean, apparently nobody knows anything, because Schefter, Rappaport, Fowler, Tom Brady's coming back. He's going to play another season. Retires today. Here we are, man. Here we are today. All right, I need a sip of water here. We're going to get into a cut here around a rumor of Aaron Rodgers potentially getting traded to the Las Vegas Raiders because, let's face it, Davante Adams, his old buddy, just posted on Instagram. Yep. How do we move without the car? Very easy. Anyway, if you can move on without Carr, it's the best thing for the Raiders, man. Okay. You ready? All right, Seeps is saying we're going to get this thing going. What we're going to do now is we're going to get into the latest around the trade rumor mill of Rodgers coming to the Raiders now that Tom Brady is retired. That's going to be coming up here on the Raiders Report. I hope you all go get your coffee. Get ready for a long day here. I think it's going to be a long day here on the Raiders Report. Hopefully you all are ready. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot of videos coming out for you here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and we do have some breaking news to sort of talk about on the show. If you live under a rock, maybe you don't know. Aaron Rodgers, trade rumors are going. Why? Tom Brady retired from the NFL. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they're looking for plan B. And the reason why we're making this show is because Davante Adams posted on his Instagram him catching footballs with who? Back shoulder fade from Aaron Rodgers in the silver and black. We also know that Davante Adams wants to be somebody that helps pick out the next quarterback for the Raiders. If plan A was Tom Brady, he retires, you throw that out the window. Does that now mean Rodgers could potentially come here to the silver and black? I mean, last offseason, nobody thought that Davante would get traded. I also think when players post stuff like that, you should think about it. Why? A great recent example. J.J. Watt recently posted a picture of him and DeMeco Ryans in Texans gear. Day later, DeMeco Ryans hired as the next head coach of the Texans. Does Davante Adams know something that we don't? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the next quarterback of the Raiders? Are they going to pull off a blockbuster deal for the Green Bay Packers QB? I'll say this, anything is possible in the NFL, and if you don't think it's possible, then I don't know if you've watched a lot of football recently. So my question to you right now, if you tune in, give me a Y for yes, give me an N for no. Do you want the Raiders to trade for Aaron Rodgers? And some of the stuff that you're going to see here on today's episode is we're going to go through. We're going to look at Aaron Rodgers' contract. I'm going to try to give you some sort of trade idea of what it would cost. There was a report that just came out around Derek Carr. I'll hit that at the very, very end of today's show. But do you want Aaron Rodgers? Y for yes and for no. If you could take me full screen on this, I think if you're trying to win right now, the best option that you can have in terms of trading for a quarterback, it is Rodgers. If you're trying to look to trade, I'm going to take trading for Aaron Rodgers over Mac Jones every single day of the week. If you're trying to win right now, Aaron Rodgers gives you a better chance to win than Jarrett Stidham, gives you a better chance than Jimmy Garoppolo, gives you a better chance than Derek Carr. He does. And if you don't think that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than DC, I'm sorry. I don't know how else I can help you. Now, in terms of Rodgers' contract, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So this is exactly from Over the Cap. For the team acquiring Rodgers, they would be on the hook for the salary for the year. The cap charge would be $59.5 million if they do not exercise his option. But if the Raiders make a trade, they would exercise his option. So Rodgers would be $15.79 million if they were to exercise it. Rodgers has an injury guarantee of $49.25 million for 2024. It's basically just like what the Raiders had this past season with Derek Carr, if that helps you kind of materialize it in your mind. If Rodgers was cut after the 2023 season, it would cost the team $43.725 million on the 2024 cap. If he retired, they could split that as a $14.57 million in 2024 and $29.15 million in 2025, using a similar June 2nd date as mentioned above in the retirement option. So when you see that, trading for Rodgers is ballsy. Like, trading for Aaron Rodgers, it takes some guts. Why? Because if you do make a big-time deal for Rodgers, you're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital. You're going to have to pay him some money. And if Rodgers does decide to retire, 2024, you're going to pay him $14 million. In 2025, you're going to pay him $29 million. You're taking a chance. But if McDaniels and Ziegler are in an opportunity, in a situation here where they feel we have to win now, sometimes you get desperate. And if you're desperate enough, a trade for Rodgers might go down. Now, if you love the Raiders, I promise you this. We're going to give you guys videos every single day. The offseason, I told you, it's going to be crazy. We went live for the breaking news around Tom Brady. If the Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, I'm here for 12 straight hours. 12 hours straight on the Raiders Report, nonstop coverage. If you thought our Devontae Adams show was crazy, get ready for an Aaron Rodgers show. Subscribe, turn on those notifications because I don't want you to miss anything. So coming up here on the show, we're going to continue to talk about Rodgers, the 4-time NFL MVP. Yeah, he's definitely not quite what he was coming off a year. If you could show some stats, that'd be great. Where he is, he's coming off a little bit of a down year. I know before I said I'd rather sign Tom Brady than trade for Aaron Rodgers because of how much draft capital it would have ended up costing you. And I would have agreed with that. However, we're in a situation now where Tom Brady's not available. Rodgers gives you the best chance to win right now. And if you need to win, that's more than likely where you need to go. Now, I am going to continue to break down everything around potentially going out and getting Aaron Rodgers. But I also know this, Rodgers, kind of a health freak. And I would imagine Rodgers would love to get his hands on some AG1. And if you do, go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports because the Raiders Report is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted immune system support and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. My grandma always said the early bird gets the worm, and AG1 inspires and motivates me to get as many worms as possible every day. AG1 really helps me getting my day started. Getting out of bed, especially after some of our crazy shows, man, it can be really difficult. I'm a person who likes and needs a routine. AG1 helps me stick to my healthy routine, wake up early, take my AG1, take Chuck for a walk, then hit the gym before work. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. It's going to be in the comments and in the description of today's video. So we're giving you guys a video here because Tom Brady, he retired. Option B could be Aaron Rodgers. Davante Adams, he posted on his Instagram. Does he know something that we don't? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But don't we think that it's kind of strange? I mean, he's got to think that. And I would imagine him putting that on IG is him telling the Raiders, I want Aaron Rodgers. And if Davante Adams is telling you I want Aaron Rodgers, you already gave Adams 5 years, $140 million. You got to make sure he's happy. I would imagine Rodgers would make Davante Adams happy. The question is, what kind of Rodgers are you going to get? 2022, struggled a little bit. 64.6 completion percentage. 3,695 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 4,115 yards, 37 touchdowns, 4 picks in 2021. Won the NFL MVP. 2020, 70.7 completion percentage. 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Won the NFL MVP. Aaron Rodgers, the last 2 years that he's played with Davante Adams, has won the NFL MVP. The year that he didn't, definitely a little bit of a struggle bus. So if you're going to make a deal for Rodgers, this is a crazy trade idea that I threw out about a week ago. And I think that this would be a deal that would go down if the Packers moved on from Jordan Love. Jordan Love doesn't want to play there anymore. And Green Bay wants to still try to win. First round pick, second round pick, it's going to cost a lot to get Rodgers. The sooner we get that through our heads, the sooner it's going to be a lot easier. But Derek, connection with Rich Bisaccia, Darren Waller, he was linked to Green Bay last offseason. Would you do this trade? Let me know down in the comments who wins this one. If you think it's the Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to type LV. If you think it's the Green Bay Packers, I want you to type GB. Honestly, I think both sides win this. But if I was Green Bay, and I'm being real with you, if I was Green Bay, I would want more than this. But if Rodgers says, hey, man, I don't want to play here anymore, then it does make it a little bit different. For some of you saying that you don't think that Derek Carr is going to get traded, here is a report that literally just came out from Albert Breer. I'm going to read this off my computer. One of the reasons Derek Carr would prefer to be traded instead of getting released outright by the Raiders is to save face, according to Breer. The optics of it look better if you get traded than if you get cut. So Derek Carr wants to save face by getting traded, not cut. He's also going to be able to get more money. If the Raiders want to pull off a deal for Aaron Rodgers, they need a lot more money. Derek Carr cannot be on your team. You need to have that Derek Carr save money if you want to make a deal for Rodgers. The next 24, 48 to a week is going to be very interesting. It's why as soon as I saw Derek Carr is going to be going to the Pro Bowl, according to the CBA, Article 38, if Carr gets injured in that Pro Bowl game, you have to pay him his money for 2023. There's a real chance DC is not going to be a member of the Raiders by the end of the week because of everything that's starting to happen. The NFL is this, man. Once that snowball gets rolling, it just keeps on rolling. So my question to you is this: where will Derek Carr play in 2023? Could it be the Green Bay Packers? I don't know if I'd want him if I was Green Bay. He's 0-7 all time in games that are under 37 degrees. Not a weatherman. I know it's going to be cold in Green Bay. I know it's a hot take. It's going to be cold in Green Bay this upcoming year. I just feel it deep down in my gut. I really, really do. Now, if you haven't already, give me a follow on Twitter. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, I do kind of want to show the quotes of Rodgers and Davante. Like, Davante and Rodgers are boys. Davante knows that one of the biggest reasons why he got the contract that he did, he's an incredible player, don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers helped him out a lot. But also on top of that, I think Rodgers is like, I kind of need Davante a little bit. This is what Rodgers had to say about a week ago on missing Davante. I feel like obviously losing Davante was a big deal. We didn't fill that void. Nobody can. He's superhuman. He's phenomenal. There was hope in certain things that were going to fill that void. Ultimately, that just didn't happen. The things we were able to do, I think, may have been taken for granted at times because we were able to create so many different things in the moment over the years, and especially the last couple of years, because not too much changed other than his absence from the lineup. So you know Aaron Rodgers, misses Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday or 2 days ago and said that it sounds like the Packers are making plans without him, and he thought that was interesting. He doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. If the Raiders trade for Davante Adams, they are going to be trying to win right away. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be insane. But the fact that Davante Adams posted an Instagram story of him and Rodgers together catching a back shoulder fade in silver and black, I think it means two things. Either A, Davante Adams, who you gave 5 years, $140 million to, who you traded the first and the second round pick, wants his old buddy back. You better listen to him because you told him he'd have an opportunity to pick his quarterback. Option B, the Raiders are getting ready to trade for Aaron Rodgers. Either way, it's going to be a crazy offseason. Hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because this offseason around the silver and black is going to be one that I don't think that you're going to want to miss. And if Rodgers gets traded, I said it once, said it twice, I'm a man of my word. 12 straight hours of Raiders Report content. Hope y'all are ready. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see if anything goes down. If you don't believe me, hop on over to Davante Adams' IG and check it out. All right, y'all. If you want to shout out here on the show, super chat, or use hashtag Raiders, let me know what you guys are thinking. We got a lot of super chats to go through. So I believe the last super chat was from Trivan. Okay, yeah. So we got quite a bit. We got about 30 super chats to go through here. So if you don't see it come up on screen right away, please be patient. You send in a super chat, we will get to it. And somebody I just saw asked, Mitch, would you do a boot? Well, let's get through these super chats, then we'll figure out how close we are to a boot. Let's go to Trivan, one of our guys on Mount Raidermore. Brian, been on the phone with Mitch after numerous Raiders games. He bleeds silver and black. This is somebody who said, I'm not a Raiders fan. Trivan, thanks for having my back, man. I also was rocking the Trivan on our last watch party, which I don't know if you saw or not. Let's go to Casual. Casual, thanks for supporting the show, man. These super chats came in at 10:44 a.m., so about a half hour ago, so we got something to roll through. Giovanni, honestly, first time in a long time where I'm feeling hopeless going into next season. Brady's news means we're probably effed. This regime has no plan. When I saw the Brady news this morning, I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, man, I don't know what this team is going to do. I don't know what plan B is going to be. I don't want it to be Jarrett Stidham. I don't want it to be Mac Jones. I don't want it to be Jimmy Garoppolo. But that Davante Adams IG post, that literally just put a lot more hope in my heart. I just want to win. That's all I want to do. LC Raider, I hate considering it. I think he's a jerk, but is Mac Jones an option at what cost? I really don't think it would cost a lot to get Mac Jones. I know Mac, the best he ever was with Josh McDaniels. He went to a Pro Bowl in 2021. They are very good friends. I just don't think that Mac Jones is very good. Like, he's a game manager, again. And to me, I'd rather you just draft a young quarterback instead of taking a guy like Mac Jones. Like, I'm good on Mac Jones. Let's go to Brian. Mondo. Nah, don't do that. Ty. I'm from New Jersey, and I've always been a Raiders fan, and besides high school, never was on the East Coast fan. I agree with you, Mitch. Ty, I appreciate that. I went to college in Hackettstown. If you know where Centenary is, check out my college baseball stats. Went to college out there, grew up on the East Coast my entire life, and, yeah, the closest team that I could go to was in East Rutherford, New Jersey. That's where the Jets play, at MetLife Stadium. So, yeah, that's why I took my internship with the Jets. Let's go to Papaya Man. And my dad's a Jets fan, for those that don't know. A-Rod did say on the Pat McAfee show that he'd be willing to restructure his contract to help out his next team he goes to. That's a fact. He did say it. He said that he'd be willing to restructure his contract. He has said that it sounds like the Packers are making changes to go in another direction. The NFL is a big smoke, and there could be fire. Rodgers talks a lot. There's no doubt about it. Rodgers talks more than just about anybody in terms of not being afraid to tell you what happens. I do think it'd be interesting, though, because McDaniels and Ziegler are more about the team, where Rodgers seems to be more about I. But him restructuring his contract could be Rodgers saying, you know what, I want to end on a high note here. Let's go to Casual. Let's assume we need to go to number 1 to get Young or Stroud. What is the most you'd be willing to give up to move to 1? For the Raiders to go from 7 up to 1, I think you got to give up, obviously, your first-round pick this year. You're probably your first-round pick the next 2 years, so 3 first-round picks. You probably also got to throw in a second and a third-round pick somewhere else in that. Like, it's so much to give up. I get it. The Raiders have been shit, at taking players in the first round, right? I mean, it's been bad, no doubt about it. But if you're McDaniels and Ziegler, you're trying to sell on the future. Trading all the way up to number 1 doesn't make sense if you're trying to sell in the future. I get it. A quarterback can help. But Young and Stroud, they both would need some talent around them. And if you give up all that draft capital, it does make it a little bit more difficult to be able to build around them, especially because, let's face it, the Raiders got a lot of holes on the defensive side of the football. Tyler Lewis, I'm late, but this is very rare, so get used to it. I told you so. Hey, if anybody wants to yell at me, because I did. I thought Tom Brady was coming to the Raiders. I thought it was going to happen. I almost thought it was just about as of a done deal. I'm happy now that I don't got to talk about Brady anymore. I'm happy that Raider fans, the amount of people that were like, I'm not going to root for the Raiders if Brady's there. I'm happy that that's over. Now, Tom Brady, take it out of your head. Throw it away. Let's look forward here to making the Raiders win, because that's all what this show is about. Let's go to Cole. Wouldn't we be able to renegotiate Rodgers' contract if he came over? Love the content. Would we be able to? Yes, but Rodgers also has to approve of it, right? Trading for Rodgers is a risk. Like I said, if he decides to retire after one season, you're on the hook for $14.75 million in 2024, and then you're on the hook for like $24 million or something like that in 2025. But Rodgers did say on the Pat McAfee show that he would be willing to renegotiate his contract to help out his new team. Let's go to Mondo. Build the defense instead of trading for an aging quarterback. I'd rather trade my whole 2024 draft for Williams in May, rather be the Jets than the Texans. It's an interesting scenario that you're making there. I mean, I think the Jets have done a good job of building a very good team around and just need to find a quarterback. The San Francisco 49ers have done that. They've done that very well, and the Niners are actually lucky because the Trey Lance trade could go down as one of the worst trades in draft history, and yet it hasn't really bit the Niners in the ass. But I hear what you're saying. If you were to ask me, Mitch, would you rather trade for Aaron Rodgers in 2023 or have Drake May or Caleb Williams in 2024, I would say I'd rather take Drake May and Caleb Williams in 2024. That's my God-honest opinion. The problem is nothing's guaranteed. And if you're somebody like McDaniels and Ziegler and you don't know if your job is guaranteed and you got to win right now, then that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to win right now, and Rodgers gives you the best chance. Let's go to J-Row. Several sources say Purdy tore his UCL no-go on P. He did tear his UCL, but there's a difference between UCL tearing it 6 months and then Tommy John is total reconstruction. I'm not a doctor, but that's also been confirmed. Tommy John is a little different than just tearing Tommy John is a surgery. Both include a torn UCL. Comic Toby, Raiders report fears Zach Lee. I don't know that. Zach, I think, and I are friends. Unless I'm tripping. I don't know. Let's go to Enrique. Trade number 1 might be better, especially if the Raiders get the pick from the Saints. If you can get a pick from the Saints, then, yeah, it changes it up a little bit. If I was Green Bay, though, I would still want your earlier pick. And if I was the Raiders, having pick number 29 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Obviously, 7's better. But it sounds like Derek Carr wants to be traded to save face, according to Albert Breer. And if you can get that extra draft capital for Carr, trading for Rodgers becomes a lot easier. Let's go to Xavier. How soon can Aaron Rodgers learn the system? We might run into a similar problem here. Also, Derek and Waller, no way. Who will be our tight end 1 after? I don't have a great answer on who would be the tight end 1 because the only tight end you'd have on your roster then is Cole Fotheringham. Yeah, I know. Who the hell is that? Foss Moreau's a free agent. Darren Waller then, he's talking about my trade idea where I had Carr and Waller both going. It's not that I want to give up Waller, but I also know this. Green Bay was interested in Waller. That's why he was in that trade idea. It's not that I want to give up Waller. It's Green Bay has already shown interest in him, and if you don't have to give up so much draft capital because then you could do a trade, it does. It makes a little bit more sense. There are some free agent tight ends out there, though. Also, historically, Rodgers hasn't really used the tight end as much as he used the receiver. And there are some good tight ends that you could potentially look at in the draft. Let's go to, I said Julio. My Lord. Julio, Rodgers and Waller, better than Mahomes and Kelsey. As much as I want to say yes to that, that's just not true. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and Kelsey's arguably the greatest tight end ever. I love your optimism, but no, that ain't it. Let's go to Raider Cali boy. Football will never be the same without the GOAT. The end of an era in football history. Speechless. What now, my guy? I think your options are you can re-sign Jarrett Stidham. You could trade for Mac Jones. You could sign Jimmy Garoppolo. But the fact that Davante Adams posted on his Instagram a nice little video of him and Aaron Rodgers catching a football, I'm almost thinking it might be an Aaron Rodgers trade, man. Buddy Bear, I'm so happy. No more Brady talk. Made my day. Like I said, I saw that one coming earlier. Wild One literally woke me up with a text message about it, and I knew Buddy Bear would be happy. So I wanted to show some love to the GOATs out there, the people who are always supporting the show, always repping with us. I know you'd be happy, so that's why I wore the jersey. I'm not going to lie. Let's go to Jeremiah John. How do we move on without Carr? Easy. You move on. I mean, Carr was an average quarterback, didn't fit well in McDaniels' system. It depends what you're going to do with the QB situation. If you trade for Rodgers, the conversation does change up a little bit because you're not going to have as much money to upgrade. But I do think getting Rodgers would make other free agents want to try to come to Las Vegas. Jeffrey, if we were able to trade for Rodgers, it would only make sense if he plays out for at least 3 more years. And with Rodgers, that is no guarantee. Couldn't agree with you more. That's the gamble. You're doing a gamble. But Mark Davis moving away from Oakland to Las Vegas, that was a gamble. Everything that the Raiders have done recently has been a gamble. So I think Mark wants to create headlines, and trading for Aaron Rodgers will do it. Highlight Hendo, is Garoppolo Garbagelo? There's at times he does not play well, and I don't think getting Garoppolo makes you necessarily a better team. I think getting Garoppolo puts you probably in the exact same area you were this past year with Derek Carr. They're both game managers. Skittles Man 25, if we tag Josh Jacobs, will he get fed? Yes, he's going to get fed. He better get fed. Like, if we tag Jacobs, it's $10.1 million. You put him on the non-exclusive tag, which then that means if a team can still negotiate with Jacobs, and if Jacobs decides to go somewhere else, okay, then you get 2 first-round picks. I don't think that's going to happen because the team's not going to be willing to give up 2 first-round picks for a running back, but that's the best-case scenario for the Raiders. Like, that makes the most sense for the Raiders from a business decision. Franchise tagging Josh Jacobs, putting him on the non-exclusive tag. All right, Skittle, what does Davante know? I don't know. But, I mean, does anybody else, be honest with me, on a scale of, or honest question, do you think it's strange that Davante Adams posted on his Instagram story him and Aaron Rodgers catching footballs today? It's a silver and black video, by the way. It's a back shoulder fade. Why for yes and for no? What do you think? Is it interesting? It's interesting to me, man. I'll give some shout-outs here once some of the votes start rolling in. Remember, if you want questions, comments on the show, right now probably the easiest way to do it is to super chat. Alfredo says no. Cheap Poetry, yes. Vic Sacramento, yes. Stephen Bryant, hell yes. Patrick B, it's very strange. It just tells me that he's either trying to tell the Raiders something or he knows something. Both are a story. Let's go to Javi. Rodgers holds out and whines and cries all the time. He does. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that the ride with Aaron Rodgers is going to be easy. If you win, winning's easy, though. I'm telling you right now, I'll take crying, all this other bullshit in the offseason if it means winning in the regular season. That's what I'll take. Headaches are headaches, man. I've been dealing with headaches for a long time covering this team. Y'all have been dealing with headaches for a long, long time. Aaron Rodgers would be arguably the greatest quarterback that the Raiders would ever have. You can make that argument. You can make it. Let's go to Patrick B. Let's say your trade goes down, Mitch. How much money is left for the O-line and the defensive line? Man, it's a tough question. Waller's deal goes off your books. The Carr you save essentially, like you're saving about $40 million overall. Also, then, you're not going to have to pay your first or your second round pick. That saves you some money. A lot of that money does end up going to Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know the ins and outs of the Raiders' entire salary cap and what it would be for a trade, this and that. I can't sit here and do that. That's not my job. Let's go to Robert. Thank you, though, Patrick. I don't know. I'm just not a mathematician. Trade for Rodgers, terrible. Rather give up those picks for Stroud. I disagree. Like, if you're going to trade if you're going to trade up a lot of your future to get C.J. Stroud comparing to trade up a lot of your future for Rodgers, I'll take Rodgers because to me he's more of a known commodity, and I'm not that big of a believer in Stroud. He's good, but he needs a lot of help around him. I think really what it comes down to is do you want to trade away a lot for Rodgers, or do you just suck this year and try to get Drake May or Caleb Williams next year? I think those are your two options. PG, do you think Stidham should be signed as a solid backup? He can be a backup. He's a good backup. He knows the system. The Raiders obviously like him. It just depends how much. If he wants $8 million, no. If he wants $3 or $4 million, sure. Brandon, I got my package yesterday. There you go. Huge shout out to Wild One and Hellcat. You both are real ones. So we were live. I forget what show it even was. And we sent some stuff out to Brandon. He's always watching the show. We got a lot of people that tune in and check this out. But I'm glad you finally got it, dude. Javi, Carr and McDaniels system year 2, Rodgers in 1. Yeah, no, that's crazy to me. I literally can't even imagine somebody thinking that Derek Carr would ever be better than Aaron Rodgers. Like, I get that fans, and I know you especially are a fan of DC. I mean, do you honestly think Derek Carr is a top 15 quarterback? Like, be honest with me. I get that you can like somebody. I like Derek Carr. But you do have to be able to sit up here and say, you know, your honest opinion. And to say that Carr and McDaniels' system in year 2 would be better than Rodgers, I get it's year 1. Man. Somebody, you guys saying top 15? I don't think he's top 15. Rusty Coat, the only way I would be happy with Rodgers is if he does restructure. I don't want us to give our future away. I hear you. I mean, you're going to have to give up draft picks. So in terms of your draft picks, yes, you have to give up some of your future away. In terms of the restructure for money, we'll see what he ends up doing. But no matter what, you're giving up your future by trading for Aaron Rodgers. Let's go to Jeremiah John. What is Devontae hiding from us? I don't know. I don't know what he's hiding from us. A lot of y'all think Carr's in the 15. All right, that's fine. That's fine. I do think Devontae knows, like I said, either he knows something or he's trying to get the Raiders to do something. Let's go to Say Hey Kid. The Raiders defense sucks. Use the picks and get defensive studs. You got to get Dalvin Tomlinson if you can. Your top 2 options are Deron Payne and Jerron Hargrave at defensive tackle. There's good cornerbacks. There's a lot of free safeties out there. There's no doubt. You got to upgrade your defense in the draft and a free agency. Pluto Mars, Jimmy G or Brissett with McKee in the second. And that makes me just want to throw up. Like, if you're going to get Jimmy G or Brissett, no on both of that. And there ain't – I wouldn't take Tanner McKee until the 4th round. To me, Tanner McKee is a 4th-round quarterback. He's as vanilla as it gets. I get that he's smart, but this would make me want to throw up. Dylan, trading for Rodgers would be a desperate move. You're right. And we have so many holes in the overall team. With Rodgers, won't have a cap space or draft capital to rebuild. If Rodgers restructures his deal a little bit, it might be a different conversation. Also, it's $15.75 million if you exercise his option in terms of how much money. So you actually will have money to be okay this year. It's just it gets more backloaded, you know, the more and more that you go going forward. Trading for Rodgers is a desperate move. The fact that Tom Brady retired today, I think that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, they're desperate. And sometimes that's what you got to do. So what's going to happen here with Derek Carr? Is he going to get traded? Is he going to get cut? Or do you want the Raiders to just keep him? I believe, is that all the supers? All right, so we have gone through all the super chats on today's show. So appreciate everyone tuning in right now. We got 1,400 people. Let's get some votes coming in here. Cheap Poetry says trade. Sarah Otto says trade. It's not, what you want to happen. It's what you think happens. So be honest here. Big Mike says keep. You can't keep him. Juice89 trade. Merkley trade. Rusty Coat trade. New Game says just keep him. The worst thing that this Raiders organization could do is keep Derek Carr, and I believe that. Phil Wall, cut. Christopher, cut. William Barron, cut. Scott O'Brien, cut. Trivan says he's going to end up getting cut. I am curious about the Albert Breer report that just came out that Carr wants to be traded to save face. I also think that he knows deep down that he's going to make more money if he is traded instead of being cut. Let me see here. Scott trade. Jose trade. Carson Spickert trade. Kathleen Johnson says cut. We need draft picks trade. Hey, man, I'm on board with you. Raiders need as many draft picks as humanly possible right now. All right, so that's all the super chats that we got for today. The team's kind of telling us we're allowed to stay live for a little bit longer. If we don't get any more, then unfortunately, I do got to hop off here. I got some other things that I got to take care of today. If you want to keep the show going, we can keep the show going. Obviously, I need more questions. # Raiders. We just got to be able to keep the show moving, if that makes sense. So, appreciate everyone tuned in. Let's go to the next question here. Who will be the Raiders quarterback next season? Who do you think it's going to be? What do we think here, man? Hang on. Ooh, man. I need a sip. Who's going to be the Raiders quarterback next season? I did put out a video earlier today. How about this? I got some tweeting that I got to do here. How about this, Seeps? Hop up on screen if you could. Give some shout-outs to some people in terms of who's going to be the next Raiders quarterback. So, Jeremy, he was unable to make it today. Also, I'm Mitchell Renz, just so y'all know.
He is Mitchell Renz.
Yeah, you're good. We can get it fixed. So, he's going to give you some shout-outs here.
There we go.
I got to tweet out something real quick. So, Seeps, give some shout-outs to the people of who's going to be the Raiders quarterback next season.
All right, guys, let me know. See, a couple of Anthony Richardsons coming in the chat. Patrick B saying Rodgers. Scott Moore is saying Rodgers. Jeffrey is saying, hey, Marshall Green. Terry Gunn is saying, see, they're going to cut him. Carson is either saying Rodgers or a rookie. Extreme PC Vids is saying Tua. Doubt that will happen, but we'll see. Tony Jackson is saying Stidham. CJ Stroud coming in from New Game. Scott saying, hey, Mitch, good show. We got CJ Stroud coming in again. And Anthony Richardson, Stroud or Rodgers coming in from Super Omnicron. Jake saying Rodgers or Brady. Tough news, Brady retired. Todd is saying Garoppolo.
Don't tell him. That's going to break his heart, man.
Don't look below.
Yeah, don't look. Keep going. We're rocking here.
Here we go. Luis Reyes is saying Rodgers. Rusty is saying Rodgers / Bryce Young. Fear the Beard saying Russell Wilson. Doubt it. David Zahn saying Trey Lance.
I'll tell you what.
Trey Lance, Mitch?
I've heard a few people bring up the whole Trey Lance thing. The issue is, though, again, how healthy is he going to be? How much do you have to give up to get him? Do you really want Trey Lance? I mean, I said from the day that he was draft prospect, I didn't really believe in Trey Lance. Yeah. He does have high upside, like nobody's ever going to get. He does have high upside, but if you're going to make a trade, if I was San Francisco, I would want a lot in return for him because you gave up 3 first-round picks to get him. So if you got to give a lot for Trey Lance, I'd rather you just draft a quarterback or, try to get Rodgers. But, man, this Davante Adams thing, this is blowing up quick because there are so many people right now talking about Davante Instagram story, Aaron Rodgers, the day that Tom Brady decides to retire. Yeah. If you don't think that that's a story, I mean,
he knows exactly what he's doing by posting that. He's sending a message to the organization. 100%. He's sending a message to everybody.
He's sending the message that, hey, either I want Aaron Rodgers or he knows something that we don't. And yep. I think it's a story. J.J. Watt posted DeMeco Ryans and him together in text and stuff. A day later, go figure, DeMeco Ryans is the new head coach. Like, there are people that know a lot more than what we have it out there. Then you see, just people tweeting about Rodgers. I don't know. There seems to be discussion about an Aaron Rodgers trade going on right now in the building, and I know I'm interested.
A lot of people are saying Rodgers. A couple of people saying Jordan Love. I mean, Davante Adams going back to Green Bay. Raiders go full rebuild.
I mean, Jordan Love would be interesting because he's already talked about potentially wanting a trade. Like, he's not really happy in there. You would have a younger quarterback on a 2-year, 2 years left essentially, so you could test it out and see what happens. And Jordan Love was a prospect that I did like. He is a high upside prospect, but man, a lot of ifs and ands, buts, a lot of wild stuff. Let's go to Patrick B. Tate posted that video the same morning Brady retired. Again, he's doing that for a reason, right? You don't post something on your Instagram of your old quarterback, and maybe I'm reading into this too much. He did it in silver and black. You could also just post an Instagram story, normal. But to make it silver and black, I think that's just the cherry on top. Davante, if you know something, man, let us know. Remember, if you want questions, comments, on the show. We'll put you up here, super chat, get you on, or you can use hashtag Raiders. Somebody just DM me and said, how much for a boot? I'll make you guys a deal. We're about 125 away. I'll do a coffee boot. We're 125 away. Let's go to David. I still like the route of building a team like the Eagles, Niners, and even the Cowboys. Then you can try to find a quarterback. I mean, the Cowboys didn't do that. Cowboys spent a shit ton of money on Ezekiel Elliott, and they spent a shit ton of money on Dak Prescott. Like, they're about to get in trouble. I agree in terms of building a team like Philadelphia and like the Niners. The one thing that I'm going to tip my cap to the Niners and the Eagles was they were aggressive. Eagles weren't afraid to make moves. Instead of investing so much in their draft picks, they said, you know what, we're going to go out, we're going to get proven talent. That's why I love Howie Roseman. That dude, that general manager, man, he's got balls. But then the Niners, they also did a good job of being able to find the right pieces, and a lot of their picks ended up working. I mean, think about it. The Niners gave up 3 first-round picks for a quarterback not even playing. Not even playing. You got to give Shanahan a little bit of credit there. You do. All right, hang on a second. I just saw something pop up here on my screen. Nothing much yet. Okay, Kazar, if you were the GM now, what would you do with the roster? And I'll tell you what, I got to make a whole video on this right now. If I was the general manager, the first thing I would do, and which I've already said, I go talk to Mark Davis. I ask him, am I guaranteed back next season? If the answer to that question is no, I'm going to try to trade for Aaron Rodgers. If the answer to that question is yes, then I'm not trading for Aaron Rodgers. If I know no matter what, I'm going to be back next season, I don't make a trade for Aaron Rodgers. I bring back Jarrett Stidham, try to get a top 5 pick next year. Don't get me wrong, we're going to compete. You always got to try to compete. But I'm going to start trying to figure out, I'm going to get an offensive line. I'm going to just build the defense as much as humanly possible. And then I'm going to take my draft capital that I have gotten, which, to be honest, if I'm going to tank in 2023, I might even start trading back in 2023, stockpile my picks in 2024, use those draft picks in 2024, and go get Drake May or Caleb Williams. That's what I would do. Jeffrey, if Carr really would rather be traded, then he should agree to push back that February 15th date to March. I don't disagree with that, right? Like, I do not disagree with that statement whatsoever, but I do think that Carr does want to have an advantage, and the sooner he becomes available, then he kind of has a jump start over everybody else, right? Because of tampering, which we know NFL teams tamper anyway, but if you're a free agent, you can't really start having conversations with the team until until March 17th. So no matter what, Carr's going to have a jump start. He can already start talking to teams. Now, the conversation has to be trade-related, right? It can't technically be free agency, which is one of the reasons why the Raiders are hesitant right now to allow him and his agent to talk to teams because, according to a report, they believe that his agent is going to talk to teams about free agency and not a trade, which obviously that hurts the Raiders. Scott, what about Hendon Hooker? Good player, torn ACL. He's older than Lamar Jackson. You're not going to get to see him realistically play until he's 26 years old. If I, no matter what, have to wait an entire year to watch my young quarterback play, I'd rather you just take a quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft who's not 26 years old. I mean, think about it. He's older than Lamar Jackson. Older than Lamar Jackson. Like, I get that 26 still isn't very old at the quarterback position, but I would rather take a QB who's 21, 22 years old, not coming off a torn ACL. All right, so how do you feel about hearing the news of Tom Brady retiring? Let me know, y'all. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Are we not feeling too good? Yes. Let me know how you're feeling, man. Happy? Sad? Are you mad? We don't know exactly what's happening. What up, Fat Bearded Dad? He says he's happy. Renee Rodriguez happy. We got Rusty Coates giving a thumbs up to Juice. We got a lot of happies in there. And I think a lot of people are happy that Tom Brady is retiring and now, you don't have to have him on your team. I'll be happy if the Raiders give me confidence that we have a good plan B option, right? I'll also be happy if the Raiders win football games. I'm going to be sad if the Raiders have just a shit year in 2023 and we know it's going to be a shit year, right? And I'm going to be even more mad if Brady retires and now they bring back Derek Carr. That's how my mindset works on this whole thing because it's This one's backfired on them. Like, I really believe that McDaniels, Ziegler, and Mark Davis all thought that they were getting Brady. And Brady just said, nope, I'm retiring. I'm going to I think he makes $37.5 million now at Fox. So that's definitely not too shabby. Let's go to Jersey Greaser Boy. What up, man? Jersey Boy Greaser. That was a perfect example of how dyslexic I am. Hear me out, Mitch. Maybe get Geno Smith. Also draft Skoronski and sign Deron Payne and Bradbury. Drafting Skoronski, the offensive lineman out of Northwestern, love him. He's my favorite offensive line prospect. I think no matter what, he's going to be a great offensive tackle. I think no matter what, he's going to be a great offensive guard. He's legit. In terms of Deron Payne, sign me up. 25 years old, defensive tackle, can really help the defense. Bradbury has played in Patrick Graham's system, knows the system well, love it. Geno Smith, though, Jersey Boy Greaser. If I'm Geno, coming off the year that I had, I'm looking for a minimum 3 years, $100 million contract. I ain't giving Geno Smith 3 years, $100 million. Like, sorry, it's not going to happen. I think that he had a great year. I'm happy for Geno. He fit that system well. But the more and more he started to play, teams started to figure him out more and more and more. And that's one of the reasons why the Seahawks started losing. So, no to Geno Smith. No Geno Smith. What up, Carlos? For those that don't know, Carlos was the one that sent in 1,000 comments on a video, I believe, on January 23rd. I told Carlos I would do a boot on Sunday. Last Sunday, like an idiot, I forgot, so we did one yesterday to start off our show. So, Carlos, I don't know if you've seen it. It was there. Mitch, if it's not Rodgers, it has to be C.J. Stroud. Trading up in next year's draft is unrealistic to me. Quarterback-needy teams will never trade down to us. I agree in terms of if it's not Rodgers, it's Stroud. Like, that's where your conversation goes. Like, that's where your mindset goes. But then if you're the Raiders, no matter what, I think if you're the Raiders and those are your two options, you're not going to wait for C.J. Stroud to fall. Like, you're not going to wait for him to fall to you at 7. You're going to trade up, and you're going to try to trade away quite a bit of draft picks to go up and get him. Now, if you make a trade with Derek Carr, you get a few extra draft picks, it changes the conversation. You have that extra draft capital. But, I mean, if those are your two options, no matter what, you're going to be trading up. Let's go to the next one in here. Be the GM. Should the Raiders draft a quarterback in the first round? Obviously, with Brady retiring, that's where this conversation needs to go. Type D for draft, type P for pass. What are we thinking? Is that what the Raiders need to do? Do you draft a QB in round 1? Because to me, the only two quarterbacks that are worth drafting in round 1 are number 1, Bryce Young, number 2, C.J. Stroud. If you want to get Bryce Young, I think you got to trade up to 1. You got to give up way too much to do that. If you want to trade for Stroud, you probably have to go up to 3, which still is going to cost a whole lot. No doubt about it. Both are going to cost a lot. Maybe if the Raiders want to get ballsy and they're like, F it, we're just going to wait, see if he falls to us at 7. That changes the conversation a little bit. But I like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson as projects. Neither of them are even close to being ready to start year 1. And I think if you were to start them in year 1, you would ruin them. They need time to develop. They need time to marinate, both of them. We got a super chat coming in here from Clown World. Number 1, why is Brady plan A when he said Bucks or retire? Plan A, the reason why he was plan A is because I honestly believe that McDaniels, Ziegler, and Mark Davis thought that Brady was going to be coming to the Raiders. I mean, when Vegas odds have Brady to the Raiders as the most likely, when guys like Schefter, Ziegler, ESPN, all these places are saying it's more than likely Brady's going to come to the Raiders, I mean, I think it's more than okay to think that, right? But apparently, yes, it was reported today that Brady was choosing between the Bucks and retirement. Dave said, aren't trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Imagine thinking teams have one plan. I don't think that teams think they have one plan. I don't think I've ever said that. I do think, though, there was multiple plans. Plan A, Plan B. I mean, I've said I thought Plan A was Tom Brady. I think Plan B for them is probably Jimmy Garoppolo. Now it could change a little bit because I do think the fact that Brock Purdy got hurt and Trey Lance, you don't know his future. If I'm 49ers, I try to bring back Jimmy G. Like, a lot of different things going on. That's what makes the offseason fun. Anthony Morales, go all in on Rodgers and go heavy defense. I mean, if you go all in on Rodgers, then I do think that literally every single draft pick and then literally every single dollar you spend in free agency that you have needs to go to the defensive side of the football. Trading for Rodgers could also jeopardize money to be able to bring back Jacobs. Like, that's another conversation that needs to be had. If you trade for Rodgers and you're giving up all that money, do you bring back Jacobs? Right? Like that's a conversation. Like, obviously we want Jacobs, but if Jacobs wants a contract extension, I don't know if I'm going to give my running back that money, because you're giving a lot of money now to Rodgers. The trade for Rodgers could complicate things for Josh Jacobs. It really, truly could. Let's go to David. Will the Brady retirement increase demand and compensation for Carr? I said yes. I think it just makes a higher demand, right? I mean, now your quarterbacks that are a possibility are Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent. You know that Lamar Jackson's getting franchise tag. Geno Smith's another option. I think Daniel Jones goes back to the New York Giants. Like, there's not a lot of great options out there for quarterback-needy teams that might need somebody. So, yes, I believe now the Derek Carr demand for a trade, it goes up. The Tom Brady retirement helped the Derek Carr trade happen, in my book. BXBBY with Rodgers. Do we win the AFC West? I don't know. I believe that with Rodgers, it gives you a better chance, but I also know that the Chiefs got Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is an upgrade over quarterback. If you were to ask me what quarterback do I think is better right now, Justin Herbert or Aaron Rodgers, I might take Herbert. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. I just like Herbert that much. But Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, the conversation changes a little bit. Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, that's a tough one. I mean, would it surprise anybody if Sean Payton's able to get Russell Wilson back? I mean, they have a good defense in Denver. The AFC West is going to be challenging. Before I say, do the Raiders win the AFC West, I need to see what they do on the defensive side of the football, because if all you do is just upgrade your offense, and if all you do is give Aaron Rodgers, and then your defense is still bottom 5 in the NFL, my answer will be no. Dustin Washington, Anthony Richardson, heard Ziegler liked him. Ziegler does like him. Every NFL GM should like Anthony Richardson because of the project. If you're in the NFL, you got a big ego, and that's not disrespecting anybody. It's people in the NFL that work around there, I imagine, have a big ego. And I believe a lot of people would think that they could turn Anthony Richardson into the quarterback that everybody thinks that he potentially could be. He's got the athletic ability. Like, he honestly reminds me of Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was a better thrower his first year. Like, Richardson, to me, his mechanics are terrible. But he can see the football field. Like, when I watch film on him, he does. He sees the field. His mechanics, though, are just terrible. So if you're going to get a guy like Richardson, who you probably have to draft in the first round, you need him to sit behind somebody for a year. And if he can sit behind somebody for a year, then that changes it. If you're just say, hey, Richardson, go out there and play year one, you're going to be pissed because he's not ready. He's not even close to being ready. In fact, I don't think that he's worth a pick in the first round, but he will go in the first round because of that upside. All right, guys, we got 1,200 people tuned in right now to the Raiders Report. Hashtag Raiders, or you can send in a super chat to get this show going. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. It's going to be an honest question here. A lot of times on these shows, we can turn them into shit shows, is how I like to call them. Shit shows include fireball, beer bongs. Do you want to celebrate Tom Brady retiring? I know it's a little bit early out there on the West Coast. It's still the morning where I'm at here in Dallas. But I'm going to ask you, do you want to turn this into a shit show? Because if you do, then we got to ramp it up here. If not, it's all good. We're going to head out of here soon. We're going to coast out into the sunset, and if any other crazy news happens around the Raiders, we will do our best to keep you up to date. Top Beats wants a shit show. He wants a coffee boot. We're 100 away from that. So I said we would do it. L. Quincy said, I don't even know what that means. We need a new head coach. Okay, yep. How's the ice? It's pretty bad in Fort Worth. Renee, it's bad down here. I mean, I literally skated my way to work. I mean, it's rough. Also, there's a report out there that the Raiders could potentially think about Rodgers or drafting a quarterback, which I agree with. Jeff Garcia, I'm so tired of the Raiders rebuilding. We need to be stable franchise. Yep. Yeah, I hear you. Rusty Coat wants a coffee boot. Hey, rules are rules, man. We got a long day ahead of us here at Chat Sports. Zornell Malone, Carr is going to get a Raiders a third and the fourth round pick. If that's what it is, at the end of the day, you got to get something for him. At least, I hope. I hope the fact that the Saints traded away Sean Payton, you got that extra first-round pick number 29, that it makes it a little bit easier to happen. We'll see, though. 1,162 people watching the show. All right, save your liver, Mitch. Maybe next time. Josh, hey, I appreciate it. I do think I got the strongest liver in the galaxy. It's either that or it's Rick, one of the two. So this is what's going to happen. We're gonna set a super chat clock for 60 seconds. If we don't receive any more, we're gonna head on out of here. Appreciate everyone tuning in for the breaking news around Tom Brady. Appreciate everyone staying around for the interesting trade rumors around Aaron Rodgers. I know it was a very, very wild day to start. If anything else happens around the Raiders, I'm going to get you guys a video as quick as I possibly can. I hope you all know that. El Quincy says trade for Mac Jones. You don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. That I can assure you, man. Alex wants a good defense. Offense wins championships. Not only a good defense, you do need both. I think when you get to that level of, right, like quarterback play, like people are always like defense wins championships. It does. The Chiefs' defense played well against Cincinnati. The Eagles' defense has been good all year. Jalen Hurts was a front runner for MVP, and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's still an NFL-driven league. You still need to have a great quarterback, and if you don't have a great quarterback, I still don't really know if you're ever going to be able to truly win a Super Bowl. Like, tell me the last team that won a Super Bowl that didn't have at least a good quarterback. Honest question. Nick Foles? Nick Foles played well in the playoffs, so. He played great in the playoffs. Like, Nick Foles, that playoff run was incredible. Joe Flacco, the year that they won the Super Bowl, he was incredible in the playoffs. Like, you need to have good quarterback play to win. I agree, Nick Foles, not great. Somebody said Trent Dilfer. That's a long time ago. I get it, though. That's a long, long time ago, and defense is a little different. Back then, you could hit guys. You can't really hit guys in today's NFL. Top Beats, what's up? Yo, Mitch, I think we have to keep Stidham now and possibly sign Jimmy G to a one-year deal and draft Tanner in the second or third if he's still on the board. I know y'all like Tanner McKee. I can't see why. He's not very good to me. I wouldn't draft Tanner McKee. If he was there in the fourth round, maybe. But to me, he's just never going to be anything in the NFL. Stidham, sure. I think Jimmy G goes back to San Francisco. I do. If I was Jimmy Garoppolo, I would just go back to San Francisco. Trey Lance, I don't think he's going to be ready to play. You got the Brock Purdy UCL injury. If I was Jimmy G, I would just hop on back. All right, guys, this is what's going to happen. Heading on out. Enjoy the rest of your day. We can't loop, right? Yeah? Yeah, well, let's just put something on loop. I think that's okay. You're good. Also, some more NFL news here. Tua Tagovailoa has been cleared from the NFL concussion protocol, which means he's confident that he can be playing football. I think that's kind of interesting. So what you guys are going to see is this. We're going to go through a loop again of the rumors around Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about Tom Brady here a little bit, so there's going to be a loop. It's going to say previously recorded. So please see that it says previously recorded. And if you send in a super chat, I can't really do anything about it. I'll comment on the video. If it's a big enough one, who knows? We might come back then and do a beer bong, do a coffee boot, something. Much love to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Stay warm out there. Coming up here on Loop, the latest around Davante Adams' Instagram post around Aaron Rodgers, and obviously Tom Brady retiring from the NFL. That's all coming up right now here on Loop on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and we do have some breaking news to sort of talk about on the show. If you live under a rock, maybe you don't know. Aaron Rodgers, trade rumors are going. Why? Tom Brady retired from the NFL. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they're looking for plan B. And the reason why we're making this show is because Davante Adams posted on his Instagram him catching footballs with who? Back shoulder fade from Aaron Rodgers in the silver and black. We also know that Davante Adams wants to be somebody that helps pick out the next quarterback for the Raiders. If plan A was Tom Brady, he retires, you throw that out the window. Does that now mean Rodgers could potentially come here to the silver and black? I mean, last offseason, nobody thought that Davante would get traded. I also think when players post stuff like that, You should think about it. Why? A great recent example. J.J. Watt recently posted a picture of him and DeMeco Ryans in Texans gear. Day later, DeMeco Ryans hired as the next head coach of the Texans. Does Devontae Adams know something that we don't? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the next quarterback of the Raiders? Are they going to pull off a blockbuster deal for the Green Bay Packers QB? I'll say this, anything is possible in the NFL, and if you don't think it's possible, then I don't know if you've watched a lot of football recently. So my question to you right now, if you tune in, give me a Y for yes, give me an N for no. Do you want the Raiders to trade for Aaron Rodgers? And some of the stuff that you're going to see here on today's episode is we're going to go through. We're going to look at Aaron Rodgers' contract. I'm going to try to give you some sort of trade idea of what it would cost. There was a report that just came out around Derek Carr. I'll hit that at the very, very end of today's show. But do you want Aaron Rodgers? Y for yes and for no. If you could take me full screen on this, I think if you're trying to win right now, the best option that you can have in terms of trading for a quarterback, it is Rodgers. If you're trying to look to trade, I'm going to take trading for Aaron Rodgers over Mac Jones every single day of the week. If you're trying to win right now, Aaron Rodgers gives you a better chance to win than Jarrett Stidham, gives you a better chance than Jimmy Garoppolo, gives you a better chance than Derek Carr. He does. And if you don't think that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than DC, I'm sorry. I don't know how else I can help you. Now, in terms of Rodgers' contract, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So this is exactly from Over the Cap. For the team acquiring Rodgers, they would be on the hook for the salary for the year. The cap charge would be $59.5 million if they do not exercise his option. But if the Raiders make a trade, they would exercise his option. So Rodgers would be $15.79 million if they were to exercise it. Rodgers has an injury guarantee of $49.25 million for 2024. It's basically just like what the Raiders had this past season with Derek Carr, if that helps you kind of materialize it in your mind. If Rodgers was cut after the 2023 season, it would cost the team $43.725 million on the 2024 cap. If he retired, they could split that as a $14.57 million in 2024 and $29.15 million in 2025, using a similar June 2nd date as mentioned above in the retirement option. So when you see that, trading for Rodgers is ballsy. Like, trading for Aaron Rodgers, it takes some guts. Why? Because if you do make a big-time deal for Rodgers, you're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital. You're going to have to pay him some money. And if Rodgers does decide to retire, 2024, you're going to pay him $14 million. In 2025, you're going to pay him $29 million. You're taking a chance. But if McDaniels and Ziegler are in an opportunity, in a situation here where they feel we have to win now, sometimes you get desperate. And if you're desperate enough, a trade for Rodgers might go down. Now, if you love the Raiders, I promise you this. We're going to give you guys videos every single day. The offseason, I told you, it's going to be crazy. We went live for the breaking news around Tom Brady. If the Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, I'm here for 12 straight hours. 12 hours straight on the Raiders Report, nonstop coverage. If you thought our Devontae Adams show was crazy, get ready for an Aaron Rodgers show. Subscribe, turn on those notifications because I don't want you to miss anything. So coming up here on the show, we're going to continue to talk about Rodgers, the four-time NFL MVP. Yeah, he's definitely not quite what he was coming off a year. If you could show some stats, that'd be great. Where he is, he's coming off a little bit of a down year. I know before I said I'd rather sign Tom Brady than trade for Aaron Rodgers because of how much draft capital it would have ended up costing you. And I would have agreed with that. However, we're in a situation now where Tom Brady's not available. Rodgers gives you the best chance to win right now. And if you need to win, that's more than likely where you need to go. Now, I am going to continue to break down everything around potentially going out and getting Aaron Rodgers. But I also know this, Rodgers, kind of a health freak. And I would imagine Rodgers would love to get his hands on some AG1. And if you do, go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports because the Raiders Report is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted immune system support and one of the supplements that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. My grandma always said the early bird gets the worm, and AG1 inspires and motivates me to get as many worms as possible every day. AG1 really helps me getting my day started. getting out of bed, especially after some of our crazy shows, man, it can be really difficult. I'm a person who likes and needs a routine. AG1 helps me stick to my healthy routine, wake up early, take my AG1, take Chuck for a walk, then hit the gym before work. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. It's going to be in the comments and in the description of today's video. So we're giving you guys a video here because Tom Brady, he retired. Option B could be Aaron Rodgers. Davante Adams, he posted on his Instagram. Does he know something that we don't? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But don't we think that it's kind of strange? I mean, he's got to think that. And I would imagine him putting that on IG is him telling the Raiders, I want Aaron Rodgers. And if Davante Adams is telling you I want Aaron Rodgers, you already gave Adams 5 years, $140 million. You got to make sure he's happy. I would imagine Rodgers would make Davante Adams happy. The question is, what kind of Rodgers are you going to get? 2022, struggled a little bit, 64.6 completion percentage, 3,695 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 4,115 yards, 37 touchdowns, 4 picks in 2021, won the NFL MVP. 2020, 70.7 completion percentage, 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, won the NFL MVP. Aaron Rodgers, the last 2 years that he's played with Davante Adams, has won the NFL MVP. The year that he didn't, definitely a little bit of a struggle bus. So if you're going to make a deal for Rodgers, this is a crazy trade idea that I threw out about a week ago. And I think that this would be a deal that would go down if the Packers moved on from Jordan Love. Jordan Love doesn't want to play there anymore. And Green Bay wants to still try to win. First round pick, second round pick, it's going to cost a lot to get Rodgers. The sooner we get that through our heads, the sooner it's going to be a lot easier. But Derek, connection with Rich Bisaccia, Darren Waller, he was linked to Green Bay last offseason. Would you do this trade? Let me know down in the comments who wins this one. If you think it's the Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to type LV. If you think it's the Green Bay Packers, I want you to type GB. Honestly, I think both sides win this. But if I was Green Bay, and I'm being real with you, if I was Green Bay, I would want more than this. But if Rodgers says, hey, man, I don't want to play here anymore, then it does make it a little bit different. For some of you saying that you don't think that Derek Carr is going to get traded, here is a report that literally just came out from Albert Breer. I'm going to read this off my computer. One of the reasons Derek Carr would prefer to be traded instead of getting released outright by the Raiders is to save face, according to Breer. The optics of it look better if you get traded than if you get cut. So Derek Carr wants to save face by getting traded, not cut. He's also going to be able to get more money. If the Raiders want to pull off a deal for Aaron Rodgers, they need a lot more money. Derek Carr cannot be on your team. You need to have that Derek Carr save money if you want to make a deal for Rodgers. The next 24, 48 to a week is going to be very interesting. It's why as soon as I saw Derek Carr is going to be going to the Pro Bowl, according to the CBA, Article 38, if Carr gets injured in that Pro Bowl game, you have to pay him his money for 2023. There's a real chance DC is not going to be a member of the Raiders by the end of the week because of everything that's starting to happen. The NFL is this, man. Once that snowball gets rolling, it just keeps on rolling. So my question to you is this. Where will Derek Carr play in 2023? Could it be the Green Bay Packers? I don't know if I'd want him if I was Green Bay. He's 0-7 all time in games that are under 37 degrees. Not a weatherman. I know it's going to be cold in Green Bay. I know it's a hot take. It's going to be cold in Green Bay this upcoming year. I just feel it deep down in my gut. I really, really do. Now, if you haven't already, give me a follow on Twitter. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, I do kind of want to show the quotes of Rodgers and Davante. Like, Davante and Rodgers are boys. Davante knows that one of the biggest reasons why he got the contract that he did, he's an incredible player, don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers helped him out a lot. But also on top of that, I think Rodgers is like, I kind of need Devontae a little bit. This is what Rodgers had to say about a week ago on missing Devontae. I feel like obviously losing Devontae was a big deal. We didn't fill that void. Nobody can. He's superhuman. He's phenomenal. There was hope in certain things that were going to fill that void. Ultimately, that just didn't happen. The things we were able to do, I think, may have been taken for granted at times because we were able to create so many different things in the moment over the years, and especially the last couple of years, because not too much changed other than his absence from the lineup. So Aaron Rodgers misses Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday or 2 days ago and said that it sounds like the Packers are making plans without him, and he thought that was interesting. He doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. If the Raiders trade for Davante Adams, they are going to be trying to win right away. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be insane. But the fact that Davante Adams posted an Instagram story of him and Rodgers together catching a back shoulder fade in silver and black, I think it means two things. Either A, Davante Adams, who you gave 5 years, $140 million to, who you traded the first and the second round pick, wants his old buddy back. You better listen to him because you told him he'd have an opportunity to pick his quarterback. Option B, the Raiders are getting ready to trade for Aaron Rodgers. Either way, it's going to be a crazy offseason. Hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because this offseason around the silver and black is going to be one that I don't think that you're going to want to miss. And if Rodgers gets traded, I said it once, said it twice, I'm a man of my word. 12 straight hours of Raiders Report content. Hope y'all are ready. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see if anything goes down. If you don't believe me, hop on over to Davante Adams' IG and check it out. All right, y'all. If you want